Awesome, awesome. Love that intro. Well, greetings, everyone. Greetings, greetings. Glad to have you here. Glad that you could tune in. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a very specific topic, something of very importance when we think about it. And we're going to be talking about fatherhood tonight. And listen, there's a lot of things about fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good examples in these spaces, but we just want to be a difference and try to show something different. So I would like to open up have the people come up that were able to be a part of this stream. And listen, I'm very honored. By the way, I'm very honored to have all of these heavyweights tonight. You know, we have Brother Bolo, my God, you know. And if you haven't subscribed to his channel, man, you need to get over there and do it because there's some interesting things going on over there in the village, and then we also have Uncle Stu. God bless Uncle Stu. Many of you possibly have not seen him in a while, but Uncle Stu's doing great things. And so I just like to open up the floor tonight just to greet everybody. Brother Bolo, how are you?
I'm awesome, man. I'm here. Lord woke me up. I'm here on the channel.
Mm,
So, I'm blessed.
yeah. Well, it's good to have you, man. When it comes to content creators, I admire both of you to a great degree because you all have put in the work, and I've watched the work that both of you have put in. And so I'm new to the game, but I'm going to try to put my foot in it a little bit. And just great to have you on, brother Bolo. And then Uncle Stu, man, come on. How are you?
Salute to you and to Bolo. Um, yeah, I have not done lives, but I am dropping a lot of videos. And 2023, I have a major assistant who's working on a lot of things in the back for me. So you're going to see a lot of shorts being dropped and a couple of videos as well. But we're getting the team prepared for 2023, which is right around the corner.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And we have all chopped it up in the background, and I appreciate those private conversations, because they're oftentimes very uplifting, But tonight, gentlemen, we're gonna tap on a topic, and it's a topic that we're all familiar with, and that's basically fatherhood,
Hmm.
and so we're going to touch on some points about fatherhood, and just to let the people know what the experience is like. What are some of the do's and don'ts, and what does good fatherhood look like? You know what I'm saying? And so we just want to kind of open up the conversation, and I guess we can get right to it. I see people in the chat. I just want to acknowledge them. Wealth Talk Production, so glad that you could show up. And whoever else is coming in the room, you're welcome. We will be opening up we'll put the link in the chat after the conversation. I see Sister N.A. God bless you. Glad you could show up. Okay, so gentlemen, fatherhood, man. And all of us have been in it for a while now, right? I think we could all say that we're kind of vets in this area. What would you say, Brother Bolo?
Um, uh, yeah, I've been a father for a long time, still learning,
Yeah.
still growing. I think it's it's
Right.
it's a ever learning process. You know, um, I think it has a lot to do with, learning yourself and the growth that you go through. And as you grow, you tend to look at things a little bit different than how you were when, the 25-year-old Bolo sees things different than the 35-year-old Bolo. You know what I'm saying? And that
Oh
happens,
yeah.
being a parent, also being a father. So, yeah, I got a good grip of it, but still growing, still learning,
Still
still growing.
growing. And I appreciate you bringing that aspect out concerning fatherhood because it is always a learning process. There are different stages in a child's life as a parent that you have to master somehow. You know what I'm saying? And so
Absolutely.
we're going to get into to some of them, but Uncle Stu, how has the parenting been for you? Um, your experiences. I know you have longevity because you're just as old. You're just as old as I am. So
Yeah, I have my oldest daughter is 36, and I go all the way down
wow,
to
wow.
24.
See that?
Um,
Yeah.
so I would definitely say that parenthood is an up and down process. There's a
Hmm.
lot of factors that goes into that. So I've been on a lot of different fronts. I've been on the single parent front, the married father front, back to the single parent front, to the
Man,
stepfather front. I've
wow,
been in
wow.
a lot of circles when it comes to fatherhood. So yeah, there's a lot that can be said and a lot that can be spoken about, and I definitely agree with Bolo. The for me it was the 18-year-old father, versus the 55-year-old father.
There you go.
Two totally
Two
different
two
people.
totally
But
different people, right?
yeah, but there's a lot of factors um that I see today that there were certain areas of my life where I'll say I was graced to have, where I see a lot of other men don't have it. I know some of the struggles. And so it's not a single man sport, it's a team sport. And, it is what it is. So
Wow,
it's a lot of
now
stuff.
that's an interesting concept right there. It's not
Hmm.
an individual sport; it's a team sport.
Right.
In other words, unless you're in a position where you have to do it alone, but the optimal thing would be to what, you know, have a team. Like they say, it takes a village. And we kind of lack that in these days and times. But I just want to give a shout out to Let's Talk the Better Black Life, who just appeared up in the chat. I would love to invite him up to the platform. I'm pretty sure he's doing something right now, but I'm pretty sure he'll be up in a
No,
minute.
he just said in the chat that he's coming through in a few.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's get right into it. And I have a couple of points. You know how preachers do when they have 3 points. And they always say they're closing when they're not closing. But we ain't gonna be on here 11 hours tonight. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be on here enough time to just give some good information and good insight. So the first thing that I want to bring up is that prenatal experience. Okay, now this is the experience where hey, she's pregnant, baby hasn't gotten here yet. And this is all important in the development of a child. Father has a good he if his presence is very important during that time. I'm sorry, brother Bolo, did you want to say something?
I didn't say anything. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, his presence is very important during that time, that prenatal time. I was in a conversation where somebody had mentioned and said, well, most of us are 9 months behind, by the time the baby comes. And so as for me, and I could speak for myself, I was there throughout the entire process. And I know that's not all of our stories. I went to all of the doctor's appointments, and you know I was there for the birth. I cut the umbilical cord. So now the only thing that if I was to be honest, during that time, I was caught up in some things that were just not savvy. You see what I'm saying? And it was definitely the birth of my son that man turned my whole life around. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I was a very functional person at the time, but it was the birth of my son that just kind of made me shift and turn. And I can almost just say that, this child saved my life. So when it comes to the prenatal experience, Brother Bolo and Uncle Stu, um, what was that experience like for you, and how involved were you in that?
Um, I was very involved. With all of the births of my children, I was there. Um, I think what as men, we're taught that you know the women have that connection to the child. you know, that spiritual connection, that connection that, typically we're not taught that men can have. But studies show that our connection is just as strong to the children. Um, it's very important. I had to get my thought process in there of preparation. It's no longer about just her and I. It's about you know myself, my woman, and my child. Um, your thought process shifts. You know, now you have to watch what you say, know how you move. Because again, this little entity that's about to come to this world is going to be a sponge. So there's a lot of growing up that I had to do. You know, rapidly and quickly.
Wow.
And,
Yeah.
and thankful, I had my father there too that kind of guided me, along the way. But
Wow. Now, see, that part is awesome to me because I really didn't have that. So, I just did it by faith, I guess. Of course, I asked a lot of questions, but I think that's an awesome thing that you had your father there to kind of give you some type of instruction and advice. Wow, that's awesome. Uncle Stu, um, those prenatal years, man, that prenatal experience. What if you can recall? Because I know sometimes we get a little older, we forget stuff.
No, I definitely
I'm
recall.
just messing with you.
um, Mine was very, to
I'm
be
I'm
totally
older than
honest.
Uncle Stu, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But go ahead.
Mine was tumultuous, and that's because I was a teen father. Um,
Mm,
we both came from a certain social background, in where she shouldn't have got pregnant. So we had two families that basically competed with one another, um, during the pregnancy. As far as like my father was concerned, I had to handle business and take care of business. So, I still graduated on time. She graduated on time. She was my high school sweetheart at the time. And I was there for a lot of the doctor's appointments, that I was, also working, out of school, and being prepared. And I was there, during the whole birth. I wasn't there to cut the umbilical cord, but I was there up until that time. Um, I don't know if I couldn't have been in the emergency room in the sense of when she, started to have my daughter. But I definitely was there and was definitely, one that held her and all that other stuff. So for me, I would say that you brought that out too. Um, at that time, yeah, to hear initially that she was pregnant, sure, as a man, I was afraid, I was feared. Um, it was worrisome. My parents didn't know for about 4 months. I knew 2 months prior to my parents finding out. So, I'm not gonna sit up there and say, I was sitting up there jumping and hollering. It was because again, I'm a senior in high school. I'm
right.
looking to do
Right.
other things than to be a father. But
Wow.
would I ever take those times back? Absolutely not. But those were the emotions that, I dealt with and I felt. Um, and then after she was born, yeah, I was a totally, different individual, So um after that, I would say for my firstborn child, it was back and forth. It was very tumultuous. So I can't sit up there and say I had a smooth ride when it came to my firstborn child.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And I appreciate you sharing that experience because I'm pretty sure that many of us that are listening can relate to that because we've been through some similar things. You know what I'm saying? And
Well,
so
what
thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
go
what
ahead.
what what that similar thing that I would say, is the fact that again, I had my parents on one side, she had her parents on the other side, and you got two different standards, you got two different arguments. When you got outside people,
Mm,
who is part of it, And even though, my parents tried to, in their humble way, take their hands off of it, but when you got, one side, you know, demanding certain things and another side demanding the other, and you're still young as a kid,
Right. You're
you kind of,
18, right?
exactly. So, that's why I say it was extremely tumultuous. Um, my father and my cousins and uncles, they didn't raise me not to take care of a child. So, that wasn't even going to be in question. That's the whole reason why I went into the military, was to make sure that my daughter had, a great deal of benefits to come her way. And
Awesome.
even in that, it became tumultuous, because again, of family members. So, I would definitely say, for me and my daughter, it was very tumultuous. I don't think we actually, well, she's going to be with me Christmas, but we never really even heal all the tumultuousness until almost 30 years later. So,
Wow.
oh
Wow.
yeah, and we've talked
Wow.
about that on my platform, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
I've heard you speak on it. I've heard you
hmm
speak on it,
yeah.
and these are experiences that, listen, ladies and gentlemen, you know, um, you know, being a father is not just a one walk type of road. There's different paths that many of us have had to take in order to accomplish this feat of being a good parent and a good father, even though there were some obstacles, that we may have encountered throughout the process. So I want to thank you for that, Uncle Stu, and I want to move on to the next thing, and this is to both of you gentlemen, and I could kind of chime in on it too, but I want to talk about the early years. Uh, that newborn, that newborn. Okay, the deed was done, and here this newborn is. Can you recall the first time or the instance that that child was put in your arms, and what was that experience like,
Uh,
Brother Bolo?
I think
am I getting too deep for y'all?
nah,
I'm
nah,
just
nah, nah.
okay.
Wow.
Back
Uh,
down memory lane, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. You're making me realize how old I am at this point.
Ah, yeah,
Um,
we're all dinosaurs. It's okay, brother.
I was in awe, man.
Yeah, yeah. My God,
In
yes.
awe.
Mm.
Uh, there's so many feelings, hit me at the same time so quickly. In awe that this little being was a liquid and now is a living body. And what hit me right after that quickly was, I got to get my act together. I got to get my
Mm.
act together. There's a lot of things that I have to do to make sure that this little kid is good. A lot of growing up I have to do. You know, um, Remembering all of the information and knowledge that I watched my dad do with us. And referring to those things to apply it. There is no I can't do it. You got to get up and make it happen. So
That's
a
it.
lot of a mindset had to be implemented at that point, because now when you realize that this little baby's in your hands, he's
Mm.
here, she's here. You know what I mean? There ain't no dubacks. There ain't no nah. We in the game right now, and every shot has to be a winner or damn near it. So that was a thought process that I was in at that point.
Wow, that's awesome, man. I'm really enjoying hearing this because, it brings to light to those who are listening who are planning on being parents. It kind of helps them along get an understanding of what the experience is like. Uncle Stu, that the early years, that time that that newborn was first put in your arms. What ran through your mind?
I would have to say me and Bolo was equal. We're equal in that regards. So there's nothing really to add. He's absolutely right. I think I would share every single word, and being that, Bolo and I come from the same place. My first child was born in St. Luke's Hospital, and
Ooh,
my second daughter was born in Brooklyn Hospital. So, he that gives him a picture of just where I was at.
Right.
Wow.
But I
Wow.
share the same words.
Sentiment.
I don't think I would subtract or add anything to it because you're
Wow.
absolutely right. You get the feeling of the good, and then you realize, okay, I got to go to work. I got to do what I got to do. Salute, salute.
Greetings, sir.
Um, I got to do what I got to do. So yeah, like I said, I think Bolo knocked it out. He hit a home run on that one. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Bolo's good at hitting home runs.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at that.
So,
I
Hey,
I've
y'all,
watched
y'all,
his track record. You know what I'm
we
saying?
got somebody on this panel
Oh,
named
we
Bolo
have an
TV.
antagonist, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the
Dude,
stage.
this
Let's
got
talk the
Bolo
better
channel.
black life
Look, Better Black Life got to
with
realize
with
you
with
got
brother
two New
Clarence.
Yorkers up here now.
you better leave me alone. I got Uncle Stu right here, brother. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. All right.
Hey, can I say something before I get started? Can I say something before I get started?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. By all means.
Uncle Stu, man, I got nothing but respect for you, man. I don't know what's out there in the street, brother, but Brother Clarence, I got nothing but respect for you, brother. And keep doing your thing, man. May your family progress. Everything's going on. And may just everything get better and better and better for you, brother. So I want to make sure that you know, coming from my mouth, that ain't nothing between us, man, except love, brother.
Mm,
And I don't think it's nothing on your end as well. But I'm just letting you know from me, man, because you know I've heard some things out there, and so I want to put it to you from me. And if I've ever offended you, brother, I apologize, man. But please accept my apologies, brother, because I've been known to say a few things, ass or hell. I've been known to say a few things that was a little out of character, but
you've had the foot and mouth syndrome, brother.
I have
Did-
brother Clarence is not
You've had.
to that. But I just wanted you to hear it coming from my mouth, brother, so that you would
No
know.
problem.
Praise
There's
God.
nothing but love here. Nothing but love here.
Okay, right on, brother. Right on.
I do want to answer a question in the chat.
Okay.
Miss Nebraska put a
Yeah.
question
Shout
up
out
there
to
at
Miss Nebraska, by the way.
7:55. Yeah, her question, if y'all want to pull it up, the timestamp is 7:55. And she said, did you men do chest to chest when your babies was born? Miss Nebraska, I had a daughter. We ain't doing chest to chest when I got a daughter. So no, I
But
didn't do
yeah,
chest to chest.
I didn't do the chest to chest either.
Yeah.
To me that was a later concept that I had discovered, which to me, hey, it is a bond with the child for them to feel the skin of the father.
I
But
did
I can't do nothing
get
for
that
you,
chance
right?
to
In
say
that
that.
era,
Yeah.
I can't.
So
And when you go, yeah,
Would I be
yeah, I would
calling
have to
Stu
get more
by
clarity.
the way?
Now, if you talk about did I talk to the womb? Oh yeah, I talk to the womb all the
yeah.
time. But
But
you
it is a
know,
thing, brother, Uncle Stu. Listen, it's a
Would I
thing
be a simp if I
that they
told you
say
I did
that's
it?
very healthy for
what I'm
what they
saying,
say
what
is
okay, give me
healthy
an
for the
understanding.
child.
What is chest to chest?
That means that you don't have a shirt on and your baby is just laying on your chest. They feel you. They
Oh,
feel you.
I did that. I did that plenty
okay,
of times.
Okay,
okay,
yeah, okay. So now, see,
okay.
that's good that you brought that up because now you have a better understanding. I think it's a very healthy thing to do.
Well,
I was
then if
unaware
that's
of
the
it at the
case,
time. I was
okay,
unaware
if
of it
that's
at
the
the time.
case, then Miss Nebraska, yes. I mean, I've done that absolutely.
Mhm. All right. Well, listen, gentlemen. We have Brother Clarence that has graced us with his presence. Let's talk the Better Black Life. If you have not subscribed to his channel, I would suggest you go over there. He has a lot to say,
Can I say
you know.
something before we get
And
into it?
yes,
Can I
yes,
say
sir. Go
something?
right ahead.
This is what we're talking about when we say, you know, the beauty and men being the example, the quintessential example of what a man is, right?
Mhm.
Knowing when to push and when not to, knowing when to say that I'm wrong. And if I offended you, I apologize. This
Yes,
is what
sir.
men do. So I just wanted to highlight that, you know, um,
Hmm.
you know, him towards Uncle Stu. That's the beautiful thing that we need to do one towards another. And that brother needs to shine my belt.
Yeah, and he's gonna get to it, sir. He's getting to it, sir.
I need to get some new headphones. Can't get through. Can't
Yeah,
get through.
his earphones always mess up, somehow when you bring that topic up. But but listen, brother Clarence, we
Yeah.
appreciate you showing up. And listen, I'm so honored to have all of you, you seasoned content creators, up here with me tonight because I'm really stepping out on faith in doing this. And I was coerced into having this channel.
Doing great, brother.
84 coerced me into it.
You're doing well.
Hey, I just want you to come on and talk. We're just going to call it the Von Bryan experience. And I said, wait, so I did it the first time, and this is my second time, ladies and gentlemen. But nevertheless, I'm having a good time. Now, brother Clarence, since you came a little bit late to the platform,
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to get you up to date. Okay. So what we talked about was the prenatal experience.
Okay.
As being a father, what was that like? When you during the pregnancy, what was your involvement? What role did you play? You remember we had a stream where Brother Rico said that a lot of us show up 9 months later, or we're 9 months late,
Yeah.
but some of us are actually there throughout the process. So,
Right.
and then we talked about the early years, that newborn. What was that like when they put that first child in your hands? What ran through your mind, Brother Clarence, when you first held that child and you knew, okay, this is real.
Oh wow, man! I was just uh, being totally uh, upfront and honest about it, man. I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. With my first one, I wasn't ready because I just was. It wasn't real. It was. I was going to the Lamaze and going to all of the classes and all of that, but it wasn't real to me till I saw that baby, and then we took him home.
How
And
old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
I was my first one. I was 29, I believe, 28 or
Okay,
29.
okay, all right.
And so, I had lived a little bit, but really not. I still had a lot of maturity to gain. I still had a lot to mature, and so doing for others, I was still in the process of learning how to do that, right? And so, and when you take that baby and the baby cries, and you look around, there's no, you know, you're the mama. There's no mama. You're the daddy. There's no daddy, right? You have to get up and do for this child. So that's when it finally hit me how real it was when we got home. And, I had to, do certain things to help my wife with raising a baby because, I mean, she had been around babies, but, it's nothing like having your own baby. And so I had to grow, brother. I mean, I'm still
Yeah,
growing now, man. As a 54
yeah.
year old, I'm still growing now. But I mean, at that time, I was way behind father.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, but it worked out. It worked out.
All right, all right. Well, I just wanted to get you in on, part of what we've already talked about. And yeah, so yeah, man, I appreciate what you're saying about the learning aspect of it. You're still learning. It's still a learning process.
Yeah,
And yeah, so the next topic that we're going to move on to is the bond. That bond. What can you recall when that bond with you and that child kicked in? Was it when you first held the child, or were you so new to it until it just took a little time for it to kick in? But you know, and when that bond kicked in, that part right there, that's what I want to tap on. What was that like when you knew that bond kicked in? Now I'm going to speak for myself real quickly. I love my wife beyond measure. You know what I'm saying? And man, very strong woman. Some people will argue the fact that there are no strong women. Well, I have one. She's a very strong woman. Anytime you can lay on a table and birth a child, there's some strength involved in that. You see what I'm saying? But let me tell you, man, it surpasses any type of love that I've ever experienced in my life. And this child, and I've got to be frank with this. Listen, I never had any type of idea that I could love that way. That was a new level of love for me that I did not know that I was capable of. So, gentlemen, that bond, you know, that bond. When did that kick in for you, and what was that like? What was that experience like? You know, did you have any idea that you would have that type of love and concern and all of that, or was it very new and fresh to you? Brother Clarence, we'll let you go first, and then Uncle Stu, and then Brother Bola.
You talking about the bond with the child or the mother?
The bond with the child. We're
Um,
talking about fatherhood right now.
you know what, brother? Um, I felt the bond right away with
Mm.
yeah, I felt the bond with all my boys right away. But I didn't feel that they had the same bond for me, right? Because I was like,
Wait. Can you wait? Say that again, because I didn't understand.
I said, I always felt the bond for all of my children, all of my boys, the three boys, all of my boys. I felt the bond for them.
Hmm.
I always felt the bond for them. Where remember me, you, and Bola, we were talking about one day. We were talking about conditional and unconditional love, right?
Hmm.
Where you love them regardless to whether they do what you tell them to do, regardless to whether they do what they're supposed to do. Your love still flows to them, right? Whether they love you the way they should back or whether they appreciate you back, that's irrelevant, right? Your love is still going to flow to them, right? So that's how my love flowed to my boys, right? And I tried to give that kind of love to them. Now, when I felt that they had to bond with me, because I always felt like they always looked at me as like I was too much for them, right? But I kept them out of the gangs and all of that. So I was the dad on the street that the dudes would tell them, "Hey man, you go home because your father gonna come out here, man, and he gonna raise hell. Come on, just go on home, right?" I was that guy, so they kept them out of a lot of stuff, and so so I thought that they was like, and I never felt like I had to be their friend, so I always just did what I did. So I didn't know that how they felt about me till years later when I think I was outside in front of the house and I was moving some trash cans or something like that. And so a guy was trying to, I guess he had a problem with me or something. Where I don't know if he was one of the guys that like goes into the trash cans or whatever, but he must have thought I was trying to stop him from doing it. And so whatever, but whatever would happen, an altercation. He was trying to create an altercation with me by saying a bunch of stuff and then coming towards me, right? And so I'm like, oh, okay. And so, well, y'all know how I get down anyway. I said, okay, brother, you you asking for it. So anyway, but my boys came flying out the house, right?
Right.
They came flying out the house and they came flanking me and kind of jumped in front of me. And I was like,
Hmm.
I didn't know they thought about me like that, right? So
Well, now look, Brother Clarence. Now, I'm specifically talking about at this particular time, and I know that's a good experience you shared when they were older. Now, right
uh,
now, we're still
oh,
in the younger
so
years,
right.
and so when they didn't know how to show you that they loved you,
Oh
these
yeah.
are these are infants, these are children,
Okay.
you know. So that bond that you had for them as a
Bond.
child,
Okay. Well, let me say it real quick because I took a lot of time. The bond I had with
just a
them,
little bit.
the bond I had with them, I it was always tight. Me to them. It was always
Right.
tight to them, and it was always tight to them to me because I coached their teams and all. But it was always tight when we were younger. But I didn't see any
When they
profits
got
or
older.
results until you see little things here and there. It's not like you gotta love them regardless. But
Well,
sometimes
yeah.
sometimes they with it, sometimes they not. Especially when they're younger, They just take for granted that you love. They just take that for granted. All the sacrifices that
Okay.
you're doing for them.
All right. Well, I appreciate that,
Yeah,
and I do want to move on to Uncle Stu,
yeah.
because we have a few other points to get to. But what was that bonding like? In those early years of being a new dad. How what was that experience like?
The experience or the bonding, because my bonding
Yeah.
has never left.
Mm-hmm.
My bonding is what kept me alive. My bonding is what
Right.
kept me going through military. It's what kept me going through all the struggle. It's what is keeping me right now. So that
Mm-hmm.
bond has never left since, I laid eyes on her. And
Wow. Yeah.
so I can't
Yeah.
sit there and just say it started and it ended and it faded.
Yeah.
No, that bond has always been there. Even when I say separation, not just military separation, but a time period of separation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that bond was the purpose for me living. That bond was the purpose of me, going through the struggle. Um,
Mm. Mm.
that bond was in all intents and purposes was the reason she got a sister. um
Okay.
so that bond was so strong that although my youngest daughter come from a different mother, she looked like a older sister. So that bond is real strong. um
Yeah. Yeah.
but if you say like exactly when, I guess I would say the day the doctor put her in my arms and it was done.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. All
Yeah.
right. So, brother Bolo, um, and I'm gonna have you go first next time. But so yeah, just if you could just expound on that bond when it kicked in, because it's all strange at first. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
very all strange at first. And if we were all to be honest, it's just like, okay, so I'm holding this baby and like what do I do? What do I do? We're so caught up on what do I do? And
right.
and the bond kicks in later. But you know, but so what was that? How did that bond kick in for you? And what was that experience like?
Well, before the child is here, you're gearing up to get things ready, right? Your
Hmm.
thought process has to change. You always knew, I always knew that there was an unconditional love, but it's a difference to experience it than to know of it, right? So, um, you're getting things ready, you're trying to make things happen, and when this child is born, and they put this child in your hands, now it all comes to fruition on why you're doing what you're doing. So the bond was immediate. Now you have a direction, you have an intention. It's no longer a theory, right? Because before the child is here, we got to get these things done, and this is the kind of father I'm going to be, and what I'm going to do, and this, that, and the third, and all these things. You're mapping out into your mind, but it's all theory. This is the first time you're being a father. You know,
Mm.
you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know how you're going to react when they put that child into your hand. So when they put that child in my arms, it all just came together at that point. This
Wow.
is why I'm doing
Wow.
it. You know what I'm saying? So, you have the thought process on why you're doing all these things.
Mm.
But then, you have that perfect storm. This is why you're doing it. And your attention and your focus is pinpoint sniper like, because I'm going to do everything to do my best to perform, to be there, to love this child and do everything in my power. So the affection and the connection was
Mm.
immediate and overwhelming,
Mm.
very overwhelming. Like, this is you, this is you.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So you look at it, and he's staring back at you, or she's staring back at you, and all of these things that are coming to your mind that I have to provide, I have to protect, I have to nurture, because this
Mm.
young man or young girl can't do it. So it kind of
Wow.
puts everything into perspective.
Excellent, man. I appreciate everything you just said. Anybody else have anything to add to what Bolo said? Because that was pretty awesome.
Nah, sound good to me.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, well then let's move on, gentlemen, because we're talking about fatherhood tonight. For those of you who have just tuned in, we're speaking on different aspects of being a good father, what it's like to be a good father, what does it look like, what is it, what is it like, how does that look? And so, we're just touching on different topics tonight, and I'm
I
glad
got
to
a
see
que-
glad to see brother Marcus in the chat. Uh, Welcome,
I got
brother.
a question.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead, Uncle Stu.
Is it possible we can take away the word good?
Okay. I
And
mean,
the reason, and I just want to say why.
okay.
Because
I'm open to that, but I need to hear where you're
okay,
coming from.
the reason I say take away the word good, because that word is subjective. Because each one of us as men has had to deal with our own individual issues, our own
Exactly.
fatherhood issues.
Right.
And unfortunately, what most women would define as good, most men wouldn't define as good. When we use that word good, we're telling people if you don't do A, B, and C, you're not a good father. And I think that that's a very subjective way to have conversation. I want men to be able to enjoy fatherhood, but also enjoy the learning and the process of fatherhood, because each one of us come from a different sociological background. Each one of us come from a different economic background. Each one of us may be dealing with a different generation. Each one of us may be dealing with a different baby mother or family, so how a man may have to navigate all that. I of course I wish that we always waited and had a child in marriage, and hallelujah, praise the Lord. But I know that not to be the case all the time. So I want men to feel free to be able to say, here's my situation. What do I do? Because I know for me, I'm graced. I have, at that time, I had a father. At
Hmm.
that time, I had uncles. I
Hmm.
had male cousins. So
Right.
I was surrounded by men. Even though I went through the things I went through, I was still surrounded by men where you may have a male out here who don't have that social network or didn't come from that social background. So I would
Okay.
rather tutor them up and try to handle or speak to wherever they are. And at the same time, I don't want women to take our story and then look at the father of her child and say, well, you're not a good father because brother Clarence did this, and Bolo did this, and Uncle Stu did this, and then try to make us the, if you want to call it, the supreme standard bearer.
Mm.
Am
Okay.
I making sense? If I'm
Well,
not,
well, 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 listen. I could definitely identify with what you're saying. But I mean, if and I didn't use the word good to be like semantical. I just meant
no,
good,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah,
have good parents and you have bad parents.
right.
And that's probably going to be a topic that we're talking about, because see, you have good parents and you have bad parents. Now I'm not talking about when we make mistakes as parents. Just because you make a mistake does not mean that you're a bad parent.
And I think what
But
Uncle
we
Stu is
do.
saying
But
is he doesn't want um a couple that's listening to this broadcast to, because if we continue to, even though you haven't used the word good, he doesn't want
right.
our experiences to be the standard that woman
Oh,
holds her child's
it,
father
it,
to. Am I
exactly. And
wrong to
so
say that,
that's, yeah,
Stu?
I get it. I get it. I get what he's saying. Yeah, that's not the
Absolutely,
purpose of the program. Yeah,
yeah.
we're we,
Because
we, we're just sharing our experiences now.
right, because
You know.
I'm like Bolo. I work with the people. I know Brother Clarence work with the people, and some of their stories
Hmm.
is not necessarily my story, but I do not deny their experiences, because what um
Hmm.
fathers and mothers is going through today was not where I was when I had mine. So I gotta sometimes humble myself to understand their experience.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? I mean,
Okay,
there was,
I
yeah,
get that. I can go for
yeah,
that. I can definitely go for that. So, the intention is not for the word good, to be mistaken. You know, it was just a part of the title of this conversation.
oh no,
But if you
you're
feel
good.
comfortable with the word good being removed from the conversation, we can always change it to, being a committed father, or however you feel more comfortable with it.
I think title wise is great.
Oh,
Just
okay,
within the
okay,
conversation, we just want to put it out there that hey, we
yeah.
are fathers,
Yeah, I think
and
it's
we
good to
all,
put it out there too.
yeah,
It's very good to put it out there. And that was a very good point you made, because some people can misinterpret what good father is, you
right.
know. And we definitely don't want anyone listening to this programming tonight to get the wrong impression. So yeah, you made a very good point, Uncle Stu. Very good point. Anybody have anything to add to what Uncle Stu said? Because sometimes we do have to listen and hear where another individual is coming from, and that's what that breeds a healthy conversation.
Well, I think that the purpose of of these conversations is to remove the ego. You know,
Mm,
um, the more information, the more eyes, on a situation, the better view we're gonna get, right? So, I always say that everyone has a piece of the jigsaw, and the more of us
Mhm.
that come together, and the more of us that can add our piece to the jigsaw, the better in clarity, the better picture we're gonna get, so that we're able to move together in that direction. So, um, we just want the ladies that are listening and the men that are listening. This is not to try and belittle anybody. This is just talking about experiences that, forefathers have had on their journey. You guys have had, your journey. Take what you can take from it and apply it. If not, just listen to this nice conversation. And even if, you can't see what we're saying, maybe you might be a young couple or whatever, just to see the camaraderie that four men are having in conversation. That's the beauty in it.
awesome, awesome, man. Wow. Yeah, I would definitely agree, brother Clarence. You have anything to add to that? You're on mute, brother. You're on
You're
mute.
on
You're
you're
you're,
on
you're
mute.
muted. You're muted.
Why do you always try to make me go after Bolo? Make Stu go after Bolo. I don't really got to go after Bolo, and then I got to try to think of something real fast to say.
This sibling rivalry that you two have going on.
Excuse me. What can I say, man? I mean, everybody's bringing such great, uh, you know, wisdom to the table, man. And
Wow,
so
wow.
it's just
Yeah, and we've got more to go, gentlemen. We've got more to go.
say the same thing. And let me just reiterate what Bolo said. Just if you can relate, relate. If not, just listen, have enjoy the conversation, man. We're not saying we are the standard by which fathers are. We're not saying that. We're just saying these are our experiences. Maybe you can relate to maybe not me but Vaughn, maybe not me but Stu, maybe not me but Bolo, or whatever, right? Or not. Or what I'm saying? Maybe you had a different
Yeah,
experience. We're not this know all tell all. We just telling y'all some different experiences. That's all. Hopefully you guys understand enjoy the conversation.
wow, wow. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am just overwhelmed with the love that's being showed tonight. These three brothers that are on the panel with me, listen. I have watched them. I have admired them. Oftentimes I wish I could, have the gift of, gab as they do, but I'm really riding on their shoulders right now, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm just so honored tonight to be in their presence. So let's move on, gentlemen. Let's move on. Let's move on. Um, so I'm going to hit you with three things. I'm going to hit you with 3 points because we ain't going to be up here 11 hours, but I'm going to hit you with 3 points at one time. Can we handle it? Are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. So we want to talk about the commitment when it comes to fatherhood, the challenges, and then we're going to talk about the insecurities, that we may have felt throughout the process. So we could split them up, or you can, if you remember the three, um, I can give them back to you as give your remarks.
I
But
think
the
it'll be cool.
commitment,
I
the
think it'll be cool
commitment.
to do one at a time and then just go throughout the three.
Okay, okay, all right. So
Mhm.
we'll do one at a time.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the commitment. Let's talk about that, gentlemen, because there is a certain as a father, you know what I'm saying. I believe that we have to be committed to that process of being a dad, being a parent. In order for us to be successful, and we're never at a place where we're perfect, but and we're constantly learning. You know what I'm saying? We're constantly in a learning mode. But I just want to know, and if you three gentlemen can just share, what does the commitment look like as a father? What does that look like? What does that entail? And whoever wants to go first can.
Well, I'll go first, real quick. I'll try to make it real quick. The commit. What does the commitment look like when you commit to the child? Correct. That's the question.
Well, the commitment in regards to being a father, you know, there's a commitment that is involved, right? I have to
Right.
be committed to the. I have to be committed to it. Correct. So what does that commitment look like to you? What does it entail?
It is it's a huge commitment, but you can handle it. It's a huge commitment, but what sometimes we feel like it's bigger than we can handle. But if you it's like anything else. Once you get used to it, and it starts growing on you, and it starts growing on you, and then one day you turn around and you're just that guy. That's what my experience was. It just I kept trying to um, get comfortable in this role of being this person who had authority over these other people, and it just because they kept coming to me with the issue, right? They kept having I still help them with issues, and so I just kept growing and growing, and finally I just realized one day, hey, I've been doing it, so I might as well be cool with it. I'm sorry, Bolo. Go ahead, brother.
Now let Uncle Stu go. I'll go last.
Oh, okay.
Um, I mean, I've always been committed. I've just had struggles with outside people coming in, and I think that's the conversation for me. Um, Being a committed father was never my issue. It was other people that came in and try to destroy that for their own ego, for their
Mm.
own self-grandizing. So, for me, it was a battle where, for her, she had to listen to her father. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was like I didn't have to listen to him, but in order for me to see my child, I had to do all kinds of things. So I had to go through, I'll tell anybody. It's a thing of, and I said it earlier, it depends on if you're playing a team sport. One of the greatest statements I heard recently is not the mother you got to worry about, it's the people around that mother you got to worry about. What's being said in their ear, what's being said in their life, what's being said about, you when you ain't even there to defend or any of those things. So being committed to the child is one thing, but it's dealing with the social environment that I think a lot of men are having to struggle with.
Yeah,
At least
yeah.
I could say that I had to struggle with if I just make it more personal.
Hmm. Well, that I can hear what you're saying, and that kind of taps into the next thing. But I want Bolo to address that when it comes to the commitment aspect of fatherhood. How would you address that to those that are listening? And what does the
Oh
commitment
man.
aspect of it entail?
Well, coming from behind these two prolific guys, I'm gonna try my best to hold my own.
You were
You know,
supposed to be first this time, Bolo, but
I
see,
know
you
it's all
you
good. It's all
you
good, man. It's
slipped.
all good. It's all good. Um, I think there's a few things, and I think the first thing is being committed to equipping the child with the coping mechanisms that they're going to need to navigate this world. Being committed to that, making sure that the second will be making sure that you create an environment for this child to flourish in the best of your ability. Um, being the man that your child needs you to be. You know, um, Another one is validating your child. You know, um, Creating a safe place, creating an environment where they can flourish, where they can meet their goals as children, where, you as yourself, you know, y- we do our best as fathers to create this environment where we're protective. We wear so many different hats, right? Leader, guide, nurturer, protector. Um, and I think one of the main things that we as young parents miss, and you really can't be called a father without this one word, and I think it's patience. You know,
Mm,
as a young man, you have to really, there's plenty of times I had to, call my father and talk to him, and talk to my mom about things that was happening, because you get impatient. You don't know what's going on. You're new at this, so you don't know what you're doing at this point. Anything and everything that you try didn't work, and all the baby needs you to do is burp them. You tried everything, changing the diaper and all these different things, and the only thing
yeah.
you patience is so important, right? The child's uh, self-esteem, you know, is built on how this the parents treat this child. This is what we have to understand, right? The commitment that I have to my child is to make sure that they know that they're loved. The commitment that I have to my children is to let them know that I did the best that I could with what I was given.
Hmm.
The commitment that I have to my daughters is to let them know that your father loves you. Your father treated you like the princesses you guys were or are. Being there to validate them, to let them know that it's okay to fail. Spending time with them so that they can understand and see what a man looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like. Because subliminally and subconsciously, every woman, every little girl are going to measure every other man that they meet up against their Uncle Stews, against their brother Clarences, against their Vaughns, and against their Bolos. So the example that you leave for these little girls is so paramount, and for the young men to let them know that to figure things out. You may not get it right on the first time, but the point isn't about you falling. The point is about you getting up and taking your time and learning from the mistakes that you made.
Wow. Now that was awesome, man. That whole aspect of being committed, that part in fatherhood. I would have to agree and say the same things because I'm still committed. I'm still committed. You see what I'm saying? In spite of the challenges and the insecurities and the unknowing at times, because different phases that you go through in fatherhood, it's a new process. You're constantly going through a new process as a parent, as a father. You know what I'm saying? It's just something that is so important in the lives of our children, is for us to be committed to their well-being, to be committed to protect them, to be committed to push them, to encourage them. You see what I'm saying? Committed to teaching them, committed to helping them become good, uh, 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 active, and productive people in society. Committed to that, and it sounds really like perfect, like when you say it the way that I'm saying it. But this whole process, ladies and gentlemen, it's a definite task, and it's not always easy. You know, sometimes you want to be a little more committed than what you're able to be. You know what I'm saying? Just like Uncle Stu had brought up that, hey, and it doesn't make him a bad parent. I had brought this up in another a string that I was on. We were having a conversation, and I said, well, what about those parents who are good parents, but they have been deployed? You know what I'm saying? They're doing a service. Does that mean that they can't be a good parent from afar? You know, but just the commitment aspect, you know, and that just being wholeheartedly in it, you know, that's where I'm still at, and I'm still trying to get better at it. So, yeah, I mean, man, these answers are great tonight, man. And how do you gentlemen enjoy the conversation so far? How's it going? Going
So
all
far,
right?
so good.
I'm
All
loving
right,
it.
Great,
good, good, good.
great.
So now we're going to get over here to some a little bit of harder conversations. What are the challenges? And I would love Uncle Stu to go first on this one, because there's and people need to understand that when you're committed to being a father, that means you are willing to do whatever it takes. You see what I'm saying? In spite of the obstacles, in spite of the stumbling blocks, in spite of weapons that are formed against you, you are committed to being a part of that child's life, in spite of whatever it is that comes your way. So, Uncle Stu, we want to talk about the challenges of parenthood, and being a father, um, and what did that look like for you? And I would like for the other gentlemen to address that also.
For me, it was tumultuous. I'm not gonna lie. Told you, my argument is always going to be outside people who want to
Hmm.
infringe on your inside stuff. So,
Mm.
my struggle of fatherhood, where it should have been, if I can use the word loosely, easy, it was not, because I had to deal with outside people on a continual basis instead of just being able to love my kids wholeheartedly and openly. And, it affected them. So, when they're at a certain age or get to a certain point, it affects them in their adulthood. Um, so again, it goes with, outside forces. So my struggle was never with my personal kids. It was with those who was around my kids.
Wow. So, with that being the challenge, okay, if we can, and I appreciate you sharing that and being transparent about that.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I definitely appreciate you being um, transparent about, you know, what you've gone through.
Right.
Um, how did you overcome those challenges, though? What was it about your commitment again? Because we went back to that. But what was it about your commitment that made you do whatever it took? What did that look like? How did you overcome that?
Well, for me, as I said before, I come from three generations of strong of fatherhood. So, I mean, I was just raised up where we was going to take care of our kids in spite of. But again, that's where I say I have grace, because I had men around me. I don't think that if I had men around me the way I did, that I would have been as committed. I would just said, F it, here's the check and I'm out, because I don't want to deal with the stress of dealing with people.
Wow.
So, it doesn't mean I didn't love my kids, but let's just say that I don't know if the quote unquote, and I'm using this average word loosely. I can't say that the average man could have went through what I went through and been at peace today. I can't say that. Some men would have just said F it and just sent the check and left everybody alone.
So then it was the love uh, for your children that helped you overcome.
No,
help you
no,
meet the challenge? Maybe did it help you
no,
meet? Or,
because I can love my. Okay, this is. I'm gonna see if I can word it right, and I hope it sounds right. Loving my child or loving my kids could never be stopped. Being
mhm,
committed to love them cannot be stopped. But how I choose to love them can be stopped.
mm.
So
Can
when
you
I
can you can you okay? So can you expound on that just a little bit? And then
sure,
I want the others to kind of chime in on that.
sure, if you got people who is trying to character assassinate you while you training to serve in the military, there's nothing I can do about that. But it don't mean I didn't love my child. If you got people who um when you come back from service and you got to tap dance around other people just to see your child because they want all these demands and money and all this other stuff, there's nothing you could do about that. Now, at the time that I know about court and all this other stuff, no, I didn't. It didn't come. I didn't have to start using the court until I fought for custody of my youngest daughter. um and then
Mm,
there, that was just a weird blessing that happened. So um I can't really say it was anti-love. Is the fact that I had to battle with so many people, and I had to
wow.
battle with that
Uh,
all the way up even until today. So y- it's just been a battle. It's been a battle. But I think my kids, in many ways, they know I love them, and as they mature and go through life,
mhm.
especially with my oldest daughter, she'll tell you in a heartbeat, let's not talk about the past because now we're here today, so
Right.
we talk
Right.
all the time. But that's because there's no hindrance, there's nobody that can get between her and I. If our relationship failed, it's because of us. It ain't because of outside people. Where as she was
Mm,
growing up, it's outside people, and I don't think we talk enough about those outside people. So I think
wow.
if I had to connect with some men, you know, I think a lot of men love their kids unconditionally. I tell any woman, your father probably loves you very unconditionally, but what was the real circumstances around why he's not there? And those are the stories that we don't talk about enough. Those are the
Mm,
narratives we don't speak about enough. And I'll admit, I have not spoken about it a lot on my platform, in the in depthness of it. Because again, I was trying to build a platform, but at the same time, those are stories and narratives that we don't talk about. Not everything is about family court system per se. You got the mama family system. You got people that literally says good, even though their definition of good is not your definition of good. So a lot of times we don't love, a lot of times we want to love our children a certain kind of way, and the environment does not allow you to love them the way you want to love them. I wanted my kids to be raised up, just like me, if not better. I grew up in a very affluential home. Um, Bolo probably know I grew up in the Upper West Side,
No
and
doubt.
so you know, and it ain't cheap to live up there even back then in the 80s.
Mhm.
So I grew up in that environment. Um, the woman, my baby's mother grew up in that same type of environment. So we both was up in a upper social class, but again, you're fighting the outside elements, and those outside elements is sometimes we talk about how to vet a woman. Sometimes you don't know all of the dirt that can be going on in somebody's home, and then by the time you find out, you all muddied and bloodied up.
wow. Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's true.
So yeah, for
So
me,
Uncle Stu, with that being said,
mhm.
and again, like I said, I really appreciate you coming up and being as transparent as you are right now. But before we move on, in lieu of what you just said and
Hmm.
what you just shared, you know, and we do want this programming tonight to be beneficial to some of the younger people that are listening. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that we've given some help so far, but I want to take it a little step further. And you know, I just want to ask you this very quickly.
It's all
um
right.
what so the experiences that you had,
Right.
going through the different systems and the obstacles trying to be a part of your children's lives,
Right.
what advice would you give to those young men that are listening right now that are going through the same thing? Because see, you have persevered,
Yes,
as
I have.
where they may be in the beginning process of what you're talking about. You see what I'm saying? In the beginning process, it seems hopeless. You see what I'm saying? But at the same time, you were able to persevere and make it
Hmm.
to where you're at now. So without holding everyone else off from their comments about this particular aspect of this show, I
Hmm.
would like for you to tap into what advice would you give those young men that are listening, that are struggling right now with these obstacles?
Well, there's two advice, but then I wouldn't be talking to men right now. I really be talking to women.
Okay, well, I mean, let's
Um,
let's 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 go there. But
if
I
I
do
had
I do want I do want you to address the young men, because I
if I had to address the young men in today's times, I would definitely say I hate to say this, but you got to go to court. But
okay,
even
okay,
that is not going to really solve the problem. It's going to give you time to spend with your child, but it's not going to solve the problem. Um, we have to address the women, and because this problem and this issue is unfortunately a woman's issue, and I can't put the responsibility on men if they're trying to do the best they can do with what they have financially, spiritually, socially. There is no book written about this is how you be a father, this is how you do this is how you do that. um, so I have to say, I have to have the conversation with women, and they're gonna have to, not really gonna, let me be soft in my words. It gotta be that depth conversation of the what's going on in your life, who's talking in your ear, um, who is saying what, you know, before we get out here and just start saying, well, men, you got to do even more. I don't, I will almost have to say, I have to listen to the man tell me his story in order for me to really deal with it, because each situation cannot really be put in a whole entire box, in a whole entire blanket, if that makes sense. So yeah, if I had to say to men, definitely talk to a man that's been through it, but at the same time, you know, women got to hear the conversation, and that's the only way it's going to work. For men listening to me is just knowing that, hey, I'm not alone. I know that there's an older man who has been through or going through um, what I've gone through. Um, my daughter and I, we just had the conversation dealing with uh, two different entertainers who's having trouble with their kids, and she put it spot on. Unless even the child themselves go through some type of therapy, it's going to be harm and danger. And again, those are conversations that we really don't have. Um, Too many conversations is more based on family court system, but not enough conversation where, and I've done this many times, tell women, don't tell me that your father walked away. And if I say to you, well, when did you walk away? Well, I was three. I'm going to tell you right now, the average person can't remember what happened when they was three. So that's somebody talking to you, and I think we have to start fighting these lies about dads just walk away. Um, we gotta open up. We gotta say, hey, I don't think your dad. I think your dad love you. And when you get 18, go find your dad. I've done that when I worked in the school system. You know, and the
okay,
girl came back to me 2 years later after she graduated, said she hooked up with her dad, and it was the best time of her life. Because she
okay,
got to
okay.
really know the other side of the truth.
Well, Well, again, I appreciate everything that you're sharing. I would suggest for these young men to hold on and continue to try. Uh, don't give up on the situation, although it looks hopeless and it seems hopeless. But you know, continue to try. It's the effort that's important. Whether you succeed or not, it's the point of the fact that you put the effort forth. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't been in Uncle Stu's predicament or situation, but definitely I don't think that we should make light of it because these are situations that our young men are going through in regards to being fathers. So I'm going to move on right now to Brother Bolo in regard to the challenges that we face, um, you know, in fatherhood. What are the challenges? What do they look like? How do you navigate through them, Brother Bolo?
Hold on, Bolo. I just want to say you're very welcome, Stan Joseph. Okay, Bolo.
Yeah, okay. Um, I definitely agree with Uncle Stu when he says your circle. Your circle is very important because, again, we typically think that the only people that can tank your trajectory or change it is either your wife or your husband or your girlfriend or boyfriend. And that's typically not true. The people that you're surrounded by have a heavy influence, right? Because if I'm angry right now and I'm arguing with my wife, I'm going to my peoples to have this conversation with. So if you're not surrounding yourself with the right men and women, you know, uh, it could change the trajectory to which your relationship can be in because it can change your whole thought process. Um, as a man, if you're doing your best, these are some of the challenges that we go through, right? Because again, to what Uncle Stu is saying, we as men, we have such a high standard that is expected of us,
Yep.
expectation that is
Yeah.
expected of us, right?
Exactly.
And there's really none as high, when it comes to the women, you know. So that the expectation, are you doing your best? Um, the struggles of being a father, the struggles of being a man, these pains and these aches that we feel, they start way before we become men. They start way before we become fathers, right? They start from the generation prior. When especially if you're raised in a single parent household, right? As a young little boy, you're told that you're the man of the house. You're only 7 years old. You can't feel, you can't cry, you can't hurt. That changes the trajectory in the thought process that young little boy has. So we have to be mindful of that, right? So as we grow up, if we're not taught the coping mechanisms and knowing how to articulate how we feel and what we're going through and how to be patient, if we haven't had that as a young man, how do you expect me to be that when I'm grown up now? It's
Mm.
almost impossible for that to happen. Um, teeter tottering between being friends with your children or child or being their father. There's a very, thin line. And my thing is, I tell my children is you only get one father, but you get plenty of friends. So that's why I wasn't your friend.
Mm.
I did my best as a father, tried to be approachable, but the one thing that Uncle Stu and I can understand, and Brother Clarence too, because he's in an area where it's really crazy, is Brooklyn is crazy. It's crazy. So there's a certain thought process that it raised you in. From a
Mm.
child, it puts you in that thought process. And it's hard to shake that off when you become a father. It's hard. And sometimes we project our fears on our children that we're going through, that we went through, and they don't understand it because, again, it's coming from where we were, right? So instead of just giving them the information and giving them knowledge, we're also giving them our experience, right? And just to say one thing to what Uncle Stu said, there's one thing that we have to understand. It's hard to have this conversation without looking at the other side and the points that he's making. Marcus said something that was very paramount, and it just gives validity to what Uncle Stu was saying. Um, the way he was taught that his father was, he was taught that his father didn't want to deal with him. He was taught that his father was a bad man, and as he grew up, and he just felt something wasn't right in his heart when he went out there to go talk to his father. He realized that his mother was lying to him. So we have to be mindful that what Uncle Stu is saying, it does happen. I understand the conversation is about fathers, but there has to be an addendum to what he is saying because it is very important. Typically, you don't find men that just leave their children. They typically don't want to deal with the mother. That's typically what they don't want to do. And they're put in situations where it's like, you know what, man, I throw my hands up. They, you know, we're taught as men to be separated. We're not taught to come together. We're not taught to form bonds. We're not taught to be there for one another so that when these brothers go through what they're going through, they have a support system to fall on, right? What Uncle Stu said, he said that he didn't know about the court system.
Mm-hmm.
He was in it by himself, right? He had the men around him as being a father, but when he's going through the trenches, we need to have these men here so that they can say, nah, brother, you don't need to listen. The birth certificate does not say in most states, it does not give the mother right to the child. The birth certificate is just a certificate that just says that 2 witnesses witnessed the birth of this child. That's all it is. You have as much right to that child as that woman do. Go fight for your child.
Amen.
Not
Amen.
all states. So these conversations that Uncle Stu is saying we have to have.
We have to have them.
We have
Yeah,
to have them. They're important.
exactly.
So what he's saying is so important, and so it has to have, because there's a lot of men that are going through these things, right? So being friends over a father. I chose to be a father. And when you're going through this, it seems in most situations to be bad. And like Uncle Stu said, as you get older, as the children get older, they tend to understand, right? Being approachable. Again, being raised in Brooklyn, you have to have this very hard posture. And I'm sure Brother Clarence can speak to it, and I'm sure you too, Vaughn. Depending on where you're from, you have to have this posture because these areas they see weakness, they prey on it. So you have to have this thought process that not me, you know, and it's hard to take off hats when it comes to dealing with your children. It's not impossible. It's hard. And I think the last and least, I think, is what you said. Never giving up. Never giving up.
Mm,
Always letting your child know. Doing your part and letting God handle the rest.
yes. Wow, that was awesome, brother Clarence. We're talking about these challenges, man. And we all face them as fathers. Mine may not be yours, and yours may not have been mine. And Uncle Stu definitely came through with his clarity and transparency. You see what I'm saying? These are things that we're going through as fathers. But nevertheless, we're going to hold on and we're going to continue. To be committed. You know, to be that father. So, brother Clarence,
Can I
uh,
just say one
y-
thing? Can I just say one
yes,
thing for you?
sir. Yeah,
I
go
just
right
want to
ahead.
respond to Stan. Stan says that
Yes.
he says that was tough. My pops was never my friend, but he was both father and friend with his girlfriend's or stepmother's children. My anger towards to him was fire. Let me explain. This goes to again what
Wow.
Uncle
Wow.
Stu was saying. it's a different dynamic when you're not my child. It was their father in the picture. you know um you become more of a coach when you're dealing with stepchildren, if the father is there in the picture, right? Typically men don't want other men disciplining their children, right? Now if he's not in the picture, then go full throttle. But you have to understand it's a different thought process. When you have a girlfriend, they don't look at you as being, you know their provider, their caretaker. So you go ahead and discipline them. They're going to say that's not your child. So it's a different position that he has to posture himself in, opposed to you. You're his. So he going to deal with you the way he needs to deal with you, opposed to dealing with those that were not his.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you for that, brother. Um, Brother Clarence.
Oh, hold on,
Hey,
brother Clarence. I just want to kind of add on to what Bolo said. Um, as hard as it is, and I know the echoing in a lot of manosphere spaces, men overall, they want to be loved too. And if a man can't deal with the original baby mother, and a man can't deal with his own children because of, the anger, the hate, the fight, the whatever, he's seeking peace. And sometimes a man may raise up, they you want to say the stepchildren. And the stepchildren can sometimes show him the love that the biological children will not show, and he's going to give that love to to those stepchildren over the biological. It's a conversation we don't talk about because we always talk about stepdaddy season and this and that. But there's another side of that story that we don't talk about. Um, and so that's another conversation that needs to be had. Not every stepfather was this bad person. I've heard many young adult women and men, but I've heard many young adult women say, "Hey, I love my stepfather. He was all that in a bag of chips." If you want to say that. Um, so again, there's many different angles to what is happening. So yeah, as a child, you would get mad. Why in the world is my biological dad loving on this one, and we over here, and yada yada yada. Sometimes we gotta tell ourselves: are we looking in the mirror? Are we really giving love, or are we giving hate? Because a man's gonna go to the love, whether it's love of the child or love of another woman. And when we say that, we don't have the heart to heart conversation by saying,
right.
if you want to be that woman sitting in this big 5-room house, and it's hell in this house, that man will walk away from a big house, fancy car, and run to the projects to that woman that'll just give him the love and the peace he desires. That's a reality. And we got to start living in the reality and not in fantasy. So I get it. I get the anger. I get the frustration. I get all of that. I really, really, really do. I get it. You know. Um, but once again, it's something where you gotta, if you're not in the trenches, if you're not in the fire, then you don't know. And it's real easy to look backwards and say what you could have did, should have did. But when you're out there living life, trying to go to work, put food on your table, you know, it's hard to keep fighting the whole world all by yourself.
Wow. Exactly. Brother Clarence, I know you've been waiting patiently, brother.
Oh yeah,
But
man, I'm just
I
soaking up the game.
definitely, yeah, I definitely want to pose this same question to you as well. The challenges, of fatherhood. What did that look like for you? What if you don't mind sharing, what is it that you had to endure, and what were some of those challenges, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Oh
By the way,
well,
hold on just for 1 second. Just want to acknowledge Chicago Rilla in the chat.
shout
God
out to
bless you,
brother.
brother. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope your family's well.
Hope your family's well, brother.
Yes, go ahead, brother Clarence.
Um, Well, the first major challenge that I had was just I have boys, so I have one way of trying to discipline them, and my wife thought,
Yeah, that's a topic we're going to get to, actually.
oh, okay, okay, but
Uh-huh.
I won't go too far into it. But we had a difference of
Yeah.
opinion of how to discipline them, and so
Mm.
that was a challenge there. That became a challenge where we always had to, I always had to, you know, try to recalibrate her and get her to understand that, there's some things you can do and some things you can't do with boys, and otherwise you sending the wrong message, and they'll take that message, and it's like planting a tree that's crooked. You know what I mean? It'll still grow up, but it's gonna grow up crooked. You want that tree to grow straight, so you gotta give it the support that it needs to stay straight. And I'm just rounding it off, but basically that's what I had to. That was my first challenge. Major challenge is the differences in how discipline. Even though we had agreed this is what we want to do, but that the woman has a
Yeah.
different she has a different bond with the
Perspective
child.
as yeah,
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 she has a different
yeah, yeah,
bond with
yeah,
the
yeah,
child
yeah.
and
We
with
we
the
we we gonna get to that later on, but yeah,
okay, okay,
yeah,
and then
definitely.
then the next challenge I had with in being a father was the fact that I had to realize, especially when my third child came, I had to realize that the money I was making at today wasn't gonna get it at when that child turned 3 or 4 or 5 years old. You know, because it wasn't.
Mm,
It was barely making it when I had to buy clothes for just two boys. Now I'm
mm,
gonna have a third boy. Yeah, you can do some hand me
yeah,
downs, but
yeah.
really
Wow,
I could see that the money wasn't going. So that put me in a position where I had to
wow, wow,
start
wow.
either planning on uh, a career change or planning on trying to get a promotions. So I started looking into stuff like that. Or at the time, it wasn't even no promotions available because everybody it wasn't no
Excuse me.
movement in the company at the time. So what I had to do was start working overtime. Now, me working the overtime put pressure on the household because now you're not there, but you got to be gone to make
Exactly,
the money to have things happen.
exactly,
And so
exactly.
that was another challenge at that point.
Yeah, yeah,
And so yeah, so those were the two like major challenges. So how I got around it was just constantly bringing her in and trying to talk to her and trying to get her to understand.
yeah.
Sometimes she did right away, and sometimes she didn't right away. Sometimes it took time for her to see, oh, I see, yeah, I see what you're talking about now. But at the time, it just like any other marriage, it raises some heated debates. We had some heated debates, but
Yeah, well,
ultimately
but
the
you were
best
just
thing.
but basically you were just doing, the husband and fatherly role to provide,
Yeah,
and
well, you got to do
sometimes
the
that
math.
does some listen, sometimes that does entail going out in the field. And we don't
Yeah,
know how long we're going to be out in the field so that we can bring sustenance and you see what I'm saying? Food
right.
home, monetary things
But
home
sometimes
to,
sometimes the people
to
you
the family.
sacrifice it for, sometimes the people you sacrifice it for don't see it that way, right?
Exactly.
Because
And
all these
that's
things
where the
you
conflict comes in.
this is let me make this very clear. Sometimes you have put so much comfort around them. You put so many pillows around them, they don't even know that they're laying on top of a bed of nails, right? Because we don't put so many pillows around them, they don't see. So
Uh-huh.
I lay on the nails, but I'm putting pillows around you, so you don't have to lay on the bed, right? So sometimes they can get a little distorted, and so sometimes you got to put a little wool off their eyes and let them see what's actually going on, so they can see. Sometimes I have to go to my wife and say, look, this is the expenses, this is what's going on, and if we projecting this out, we're gonna be at a point where we're gonna be at zero net. So that's not gonna work. So we gotta, you know what I'm saying? So this is what I gotta do until I can put this other situation in motion where I don't have to do this anymore. And so that's all I want to say. It was like those are the challenges that I faced. I'm facing what a situation that Stu is talking about right now with my granddaughter.
Mm.
My granddaughter, we getting dragged to court and dragged to
Yeah,
court and
so it's
dragged to
real.
court.
It's an
I'm
ongoing
telling
real
you, man, it's
situation. Exactly.
unbelievable. Because
Yeah.
she doesn't even have a lawyer, and the court will take our lawyer and make our lawyer work for her. The lawyer that we're paying for this lawyer, right? And they'll say, okay, y'all get together with the lawyer and y'all work it out, right? And we like, that ain't her lawyer, but they don't care, right? They just do whatever because they try to. And I get it. They try to get a mom's all these different chances and all these different chances and all these different chances. We on her third chance. We got to go back in March. We on her third chance to try to get this baby back, right? But I'm saying it to say, yeah, but what else your option? You know what I'm saying? You can't just give up and say, well, F it. What's our option? We got to go to court. That's what we got to do. Because I ain't going to let you just walk out with my baby. You're going to have to fight and get her. If you're going to get her, you better come swinging, right? So that's the way we got to look at our children, man.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's going to be challenges being a father, being a husband, being a man. It's going to be challenges,
Yes, sir.
but
Yes,
you
sir.
got to just overcome them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for that. Wow. Okay, so moving on, gentlemen, and we're almost done. Thank you for your contributions to the conversation. Um, I want to tap into some. I'm going to skip a couple of these because I think we've been talking now about an hour and 37 minutes. Wow, I didn't even think the conversation would go that long, but wow, look at us. So, what I want to tap on this, and I did want to touch on this when we talk about you know mothers who have children. Of course, that motherly instinct kicks in. You know, is there such thing as a fatherly instinct? And if there is fatherly instincts, you know, what does it look like? What are examples of you know uh, those instincts that kick in when you are a father? Even though even in the beginning of the process, we don't always know what to do, you know. But then Mother Nature says that there are some things that we do instinctively. You know what I'm saying? So, what do you think some of those things are, gentlemen? And we can just talk about that very, very quickly and briefly before we move on to uh, a couple of other ones, and then we can close out the show and give closing remarks. But instinctively, how do you move as a father? Instinctively, Now, this goes beyond what you know to do, right? Because an instinct is something that just comes naturally, right? Am I right or wrong about that? So, Brother
Yeah.
Bolo, can you introduce us to that aspect of the conversation?
Absolutely. Fatherly instincts, being protective,
Mm,
um,
that's a good
being,
one.
being a provider, nurturer, a leader.
Mm,
Um,
wow,
these
awesome.
are instinctive things that you're gonna teach your son. You know,
Hmm.
the protection, the guiding, the nurturing, the validation are instincts. These are things that need not to be said or written. These are things that are spiritually um, given between both the child and the father. Um, these are
Now,
things.
when you say validation, I want you to expound on that a little bit because I heard you use that word earlier. If you could.
Well, validating your daughter, letting her know that she is loved, letting her know that she is understood and that she is protected and that she will be provided for. Letting
Mm,
her know that you hear her, letting her know that you see her and that you feel her, letting her know
mm.
that she can come to you and speak to you about any and everything. Although sometimes it may be hard conversations, but just validating her as a young girl, then validating her as a young woman, and then the next step, hopefully, her getting married. You know, because you have to understand this is what women seek. They seek validation. So you want to make sure that they understand what they're seeking for. It's like if, you know, there's a lot of times when I'm speaking to women that work in strip clubs. The first question I ask, and I would say it's got to be 85% of them. Have you had a relationship with your father? No. No. And sometimes they don't work, they don't make their way into the strip clubs. Sometimes they get pimped out into. And how did that happen? Because they didn't have no type of validation from their father because their father wasn't there. So this man gives them a semblance, something that seems to be love, but it isn't. Now remember, this young girl has nothing to measure it up against. So she's walking into something blindly. So, these instinctive things that we do for our children, I think it's like second nature. I don't think it's something that we purposely go out and do.
Exactly.
I think it's
Right.
just something that happens. We just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now the lifelong lessons, that is something that we meticulously teach our children when they get of age. But when it comes to the protection, when it comes to the nourishing, when it comes to the holding and the validating and all these different things, this is something that's natural. This is something that automatically happens in most situations.
Wow. Thank you. Listen, man, I agree with everything you just said. Those instincts when they kick in. You gave a good example of a lot of the characteristics of those fatherly instincts that kick in. And these are things that we need to look for in ourselves, and if we don't see them in operation, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep trying to be that dad. Just keep trying to be that father, and but at least you have an example of it. Uncle Stu, what say you, sir? Did we lose Uncle Stu?
No, I'm right here. I'm right here. I thought I was talking and my mic was muted.
Ah.
Uh, I
That's
take
all
in
right.
everything that Bolo said, and I think everything is more instinctive and natural. I don't think it's something that really needs to be taught. At least from that perspective, I think it is, you know, uh, a natural instinct over protection. I think
Mhm.
it's natural over the care, and other things can definitely be taught. Um, I think of my son, so because I'm a grandfather now, and I look at how he moves and how he operates, so I see his protection, his love, his what he do for his. So I think it's more instinctive and more natural than what we really even wanna think about,
Right.
or speak on. So no, I think it's really natural. I think once again, put your eyes on that child, and it just become natural that you want to do for your child.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with that. It's something that should come naturally, and but for some it doesn't. I'm pretty sure we could all agree on that, right? For some, these fatherly instincts don't just kick in. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I brought this question up, is for the purposes of letting the younger people that are listening, that are contemplating becoming parents and fathers, rather, you know, these are some of the instinctive things, because we all have experience now. You see what I'm saying? These are some of the instincts that will naturally kick in. If you don't see what Uncle Stu said or what Brother Bolo said, if that's not kicking in, see, we need to question that. So yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there. Brother Clarence,
Sir.
what say you, my friend?
Um, well,
What do fatherly instincts look like? How do what are they?
oh yeah, of course,
How,
like both the brothers, um, Polo and Stu was saying about protection, provision, leadership. Um, just think when you become a father, you get this vision that you can see far down the line, which you couldn't see that far in your own life, but when you're looking at this child and you're looking years down the line for them, and you want to do for them now to prepare them for years down the line. So I think you want to prepare them so that they will have the best chance of being successful, and It's just something that comes out of you to try and do. Now, I don't know, now I don't have a pinpoint why. There are some men that don't do that. I think it's partly it might have something to do with not seeing it and seeing it presented to them, seeing that somebody sacrificing for them, or being able to interpret people's sacrifices for them as such. So that maybe has something to do with it, but I think it just, if you have a child and you get that connection. Now some guys don't connect to their children for whatever reason, right? Like Stu said, sometimes you got outside forces holding you back, so you don't really get the chance to connect, or whatever the reason may be. But if you actually connect with that child, whether you there, deployed, whatever, if you actually connect with that child, you're gonna feel a sense of duty and responsibility to that child to maintain it, to try to teach it, to try to put it in a position where it can succeed. You know what I mean? Now, does that mean that the child's gonna respect that? Now, look at the Master P, right? Sometimes the child gonna have it so good they don't, or 50
That's
cents
a
on
good hey, that's good that you brought that up.
it.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're gonna recognize,
definitely.
but then sometimes they're not gonna interpret it as, when you do stuff, when you refuse things from them, they're gonna interpret it as you hating on them, right? And they won't understand, right? Sometimes that's why I always say rejection is God's kiss on the forehead, because sometimes God won't let us get something that we really want because it's better that we don't get it and we're not ready to handle
Wow.
it, right? And so
Wow.
sometimes we
Wow.
see that in our children. We see that in our children. Yeah, they want a car, but they're not responding. They can't even take the trash out. You
Yeah,
want a
yeah.
car, but you can't even take the trash
They're not displaying responsibility.
out.
Yeah,
Exactly. They
I
don't
know
get.
exactly what you're talking about, Brother Clarence.
So
Wow.
that's what I'm saying. Even though we got the instincts, we got to measure that by the time. We got to measure that by the time, and then we got to measure that by the movement of the child. If the child is moving in a way, then we can say, okay, maybe this child is ready for this added responsibility or this added thing. But if they're not
Okay.
moving
Okay.
that way, then
Yeah.
so being a father is so many different things all at the same time.
So
You got,
many different things.
and then when you got multiple children,
Very inherent. Well, we're going to get on that. I have
okay,
a couple of more. I have a couple of more. Man,
okay.
look, did you read my notes, brother, or something? What happened there, Brother Clarence? Did you
uh,
did you
I've
hack
seen
did
this
you hack
movie
me
already,
somehow?
brother.
Wow. Listen, gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're almost done with the conversation. There's just only a few more little things that we want to touch on. But so far, I think we're doing a great job. I do want to open up the chat uh, for someone else to come up, or if they have some questions for us. But that's why I want to kind of hurry up and get through a couple of more little things here. But listen, gentlemen, I would be remiss as a father, as a parent, if I did not bring up the topic of discipline tactics. Now, listen, you know, growing up, I got my ass beat. Yeah. Listen, let me tell you, there was, yeah, man. I mean, I couldn't even breathe hardly, you know, and I was getting it, and like they say, spare the rod, spoil the child.
Hey,
Now
Vaughn,
I've grown up to a place to where, I don't care to use the tactics that my mother may have used. I grew up with a single parent, and let
Vaughn,
me tell you, my mom used to give it to me.
Vaughn, let me ask you a
Yes,
question.
sir.
Did you ever get
Yes,
one of
sir.
them ones where you couldn't breathe? You like,
Oh man, well, you know how you get the
and you
yeah,
crying and nothing comes
oh
out?
yeah. Oh man, come on, listen, I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. You know what I'm saying? And so I would be remiss even in this conversation if we didn't talk about discipline tactics. Now, discipline does not just only entail uh, physical. You see what I'm saying? So I would like to start with Uncle Stu very quickly, if he could, in his experience of being a parent, you know, uh, just kind of briefly talk about the discipline tactics. You know, um, so some people believe in spanking, some people believe in timeout. You know, uh, and discipline is not always physical. But how did you approach it?
Um, I've never had to I've never had to spank my children.
Okay.
The discipline came from a different way.
Okay.
My older
Can you
daughter
can
used
you
to,
expound on how that discipline, what did that look like?
I don't know if this would go down as discipline, but my oldest daughter was going to a Catholic school, and I fought for her to go to public school, and just moved to Brooklyn at that time. Beth Star do or die, and she went to school there, and a bully was there, and the bully picked on her, and I told her if she comes home one more time talking about this bully and she didn't do anything, she had to deal with me. Well, the next day the bully came after her and she whipped the bully behind. You
Yeah,
know,
I've heard those stories quite often. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, but no, that I can't
How it
really say
how
that I've
well
did
how it
any
how it
major discipline.
well, and I can also reword the question if I wanted to. I just wrote down discipline tactics.
Okay.
What do they look like? You know, but how important is discipline in raising your child? How do we go about disciplining our children? I for one can say that. Excuse me. When my son was younger, and during the potty training, and during those little years where they can do things to hurt themselves, I may have tapped him, and no, no, no. You see what I'm saying? Now, because I grew up with being, you know, whooped and switches and all of that stuff. You see what I'm saying? I just chose not to take that route with my son, but at the same time, I did have to get in his ass a couple of times, and that was basically all it took. It wasn't something that I did on a continual basis, but once he knew the consequence, basically he heeded to my voice. You see what I'm saying? And then I began to learn as he got older how to discipline him mentally and deal with his mind, with his psyche. You see what I'm saying? Oh, so you're going to do that? Well, let me tell you what, I'm going to take this from you. I'm going to take that from you. See what I'm saying? Also, there's another form of discipline that I would use, and people talk about the timeout, but hey, sit over there and don't move. Now, they want to be in their room playing toys. See? So I would say sit there, and you may sit there and be quiet, or you may sit there and get a nice long lecture from me, you know. And I'm pretty sure, my son was like, oh, I'd rather have a different punishment than to have to endure this lecture. So, there's different ways to go about disciplining your children. Now when it comes to discipline, I would definitely say, uh, you know, when we discipline our children, it has to be in love and not anger. And I think that's where a lot of us parents get sidetracked and off kilter, because when we do go to discipline them, we're disciplining them from a place of anger. Now, you can let the child know that what you did was wrong and I'm upset about it, you know. But a lot of these lashings I would get, man, let me tell you, it wasn't just because it was out of love. It was because, hey, you know, it was out of anger. You see what I'm saying? And so you break a child's spirit when they are disciplined incorrectly. And see, we're trying to mold people and mold these children to be productive parts of the society. You know what I'm saying? And when we break their spirit and put them in a position to where they're just, you know what I'm saying? They don't. They grow up with different type of psychological problems. So gentlemen, what say you about that? Whoever wants to go first, they can. I think we have one or two different things, and then we can do closing.
For me, I guess I was lucky. I've never had to do any of those things, so I'll just say, for me, it was luck. Touch a child today, you going to jail, versus when I was growing up. So that
Well,
physical
you're right
discipline,
about that.
that physical discipline is totally
You're right
different
about that.
today. They go to school with a weapon on them. Well, you're gonna have some serious consequences on your hands.
But you
Um,
still have that going on today, Uncle Stu. You still have that going on today.
Yeah.
People are whooping their children. People are
Oh,
putting hands on their
what
children.
goes on in your house is in your
Yeah,
house. I'm just telling
yeah.
you what happened if that child comes to school and
Oh
says
yeah,
that happened.
definitely.
But
Shout
like
out
I
to
said,
Great Deal podcast.
I think I was just lucky. So that's just an area that I didn't really have to deal with. I dealt with more of making sure everybody was academically sound and
Right,
everything else. So
right,
I didn't have to really
right.
deal with that.
Okay, well, let's move on to Bolo and Brother Clarence. Either one of you can start if you want. I just wanted to show discipline tactics because it's very important part of our children's lives because we are the leaders, we're the parents. We definitely need to discipline them, you know. But what is the correct way to go about doing it? So either Brother Bolo or Brother Clarence, go ahead.
Um, I think when it comes to discipline, I did spank my children. You know, the more of the boys than I did the girls. The girls, they got a stern talking to. They did get spanked. I think I spanked my daughters twice in their life. It depends on the infraction. It depends, right? Because sometimes some things may need a timeout. And sometimes I just think, as you grow as being a parent and you grow and you learn certain things, we understand what is available to us at the time. So we're learning and we're ever growing as parents. So sometimes we will see things in our second child that in understanding that we didn't see because we were growing as a first child parent.
Yes,
So
sir.
you learn other tactics on how to deal with your children as you grow. Life is meant to be lived forward, but understood backward. So typically, it's not until you finish going through something that you can understand it and understand the gravitate, the gravitational pull of what you were doing and how it affected them. Because a lot of the times we just think that that punishment stays with them for that minute. Sometimes it lasts and it can create a trauma. So and you don't learn this until you grow. And this is a growing process. Our children, being a parent doesn't come with instructions. When I got my children, the nurse didn't hand me some instructions on a PDF file and said, here, this is how it works. No, I didn't get that, And at the same time, we try to tell these young men, don't rush to grow old. Don't rush because the more and more you know about yourself, the more and more you're going to be a better parent. You don't want to grow into being a husband while being a husband. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the times you being a good parent comes from the experiences that you've had in life where you can take the lifelong lessons that your parents has given you and then apply it and watch it work. Watch it work. You don't want to try to apply it while being a father. It just makes it that much more complicated. So that's
Wow.
what.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Brother Clarence, I know you're sitting there waiting. You looked a little sad when Bolo went first. What's that about?
No, I was,
Look, I'm trying to be an instigator now.
I was,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was trying to let him, I was trying to let him go. I was
Yeah.
trying to say,
Okay. All right.
age before beauty. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. I see. It's
So
oh, okay.
even though I'm older, you know what I'm saying? So I was gonna let him go. But
Okay.
Clarence, I got one question for you.
yes, sir.
Who's the king of hip hop?
Who's the king of hip hop? Oh man,
In New York, isn't it?
That's a
Is
hard.
it New York king of hip hop?
Is who?
New York king of hip hop.
Is New York the king of hip hop?
Yeah.
I'll give y'all that. I'll give
All
y'all
right.
that.
That's all I wanted.
Let me
You
just say
know.
this. Let me just say this. You, brother Clarence, you didn't give it. We took it, brother. Ain't about you giving it.
Something wrong. Something.
You keep forgetting we the original.
Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh, oh,
hey,
oh,
that's Brooklyn
oh,
Flatbush.
oh.
Joe Hopkins, Brooklyn Flatbush, brother.
You know, let's get this. Follow. I got you on that prayer time because we doing prayer rhymes.
Oh man, whenever you're ready, you let me know.
How
Wow,
you like that?
wow,
How you like that?
wow.
Flip that one.
See, that was a good. Listen, I love when the conversation can, we have a little lighter part of it. Sometimes we can get so serious, but man, that was right on time right there. But brother, did you answer the question?
Oh no, I didn't. I got. Oh no, sorry.
Okay, well,
Let's see.
hey,
What
I'm
was
new.
the
I'm new to this content creating stuff. So come on.
yeah? See how much stuff you got to do, bro.
That's okay because
All
I'm
right,
looking at the chat, looking at the dog. The dog is really getting on my nerves right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm
What was
trying
the
to
question,
multitask.
Vaughn?
Yes, sir.
What was the question again?
Okay, so we were talking about discipline tactics, right? I think you
Oh
answered
yeah.
that, didn't
Okay,
you?
right.
Did you answer that? As far
No,
as
no, I didn't.
you didn't
Real
get to
quick.
chime in on that yet. Okay.
Yeah. So I said, like I told you guys, man, me and my wife, we had to kind of meet in the middle on some of the discipline next. So I learned from my first boy that spankings that just wasn't gonna work because my oldest boy, man, he was just I was wearing out my hands. I mean, I was doing everything right. So he got about 10 years old. I said, you know what, this ain't working. Let me do some other stuff with him. So and eventually, I didn't even the other two I never even touched. But my oldest one, because he's the wild one. He's the rebel of the bunch, right? So I had to spend a lot more time physically. Well, I had to, but that's what I chose to do was spend more time physically disciplining him. But eventually, I saw that really wasn't working, and so I started. What I started doing with them is more uh, not letting them see what was coming. Right. For example, I had to do a little more creative. Right. So now instead
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
spanking them, excuse me, now instead of spanking them, what I would do is maybe I make them fly. Right. So flying is when you put them in the corner. Right. Put your arms out straight. Right. And so
Oh man.
yeah, for the first five
Yeah,
minutes,
that's
it's like
one.
la
Did they
la la
did,
la
did
la 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 la. First
did they
5 minutes.
have to hold a book in each hand though, brother
No.
Clarence?
They just
Did,
keep them
did you
straight.
put a book in each hand?
Come on, that's draconian, brother. I'm just
Yeah.
standing there holding your hands out, right? So first 5 minutes, they look at me, blah blah blah. But after that first 5 minutes, bro, ooh, I said, no, keep your hands up. You want to get on that Xbox? Keep your hands up, right? And then you see him
Uh,
with the little shoulders, right? And I said, see, brother, you don't have to. And then, see, what I found is making them, not being aggressive with them, but more in making them see a consequence. Because in my situation in particular, it was very important for me to let them see that there was a consequence to what they did. Because if they don't see there was a consequence in my situation, they would continue. They would become more. They would go farther off the line, right? So to
wow.
bring it back,
Wow.
to keep them on that line, they know. Okay, I want to do that, but I know I shouldn't do it. But that what keeps them back on that line is knowing something's out there. I don't know what he's gonna throw at us this time, but let me just stay over here because I don't need the stress, right? And
Wow.
so that's what happened now. As far as my wife, let me just throw this in. As a father, sometimes you're gonna have to deal with the boys running up under the woman's skirt,
Yes,
right?
sir. Come on,
That's
talk
what
about
you
it.
have to deal with. Okay, so you're gonna
Oh, that's an issue, isn't it?
yes, that is because the female cannot see the
You have to
damage.
end up checking the wife at that point. But I'm gonna let Brother Clarence talk.
It's difficult because the female can't see the damage she's doing with that, right? She doesn't see the
Exactly.
damage.
Wow.
She
Good
sees
point, Brother
my,
Clarence. Good point.
my child in uh in peril, and I must save my child, even from the father. I have to save my child from the father, right? And so she don't realize I'm not nobody you need to save this boy from. You know what I'm saying? He's not somebody. Just because I'm gonna discipline him doesn't mean he needs your help. As a matter of fact, you hurting this discipline process by getting involved with it while I got a straight line on what I'm trying to do. And that's a hard thing to sell to a lot of women. So to get around that, what I would do is I have to take a break and separate her and separate him from each other, and then kind of talk her through real quick and say, hey, look, you're not helping this situation, so I need you to step out of the way. But she got this like, no, 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 I don't want that. This is my child. You think I'm gonna do something to my child?
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah.
So it's a hard thing to sell. So
Wow.
you have to
Wow.
find ways, in my opinion, for young
Yeah.
guys out there. You have to find ways, even with the girls. I have the same problem with my granddaughter. I had to get in there with my wife or my granddaughter and say no. She'll say go do this, and I'll say no. It's not the right way to explain that to her, because you want to explain it in a way where she can understand. You don't want to explain it in a way where just don't do that, right? So it's just different things that you got to constantly try to get around and try to. It helps when you have a better relationship with the woman. It helps when you have
Wow.
a better relationship. So making that relationship strong helps with the discipline process. So if you want the discipline process of your children to be strong, try to make the relationship with the woman be strong. And if you can't do that, try to do the best you can with these children. That's all I could say. Because the wife
Wow.
is gonna get involved.
Excellent. 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 Bolo and Uncle Stu, what do you all say about what Brother Clarence was just talking about? Do you agree?
I had girls,
Right.
so I had girls, so I'm in a different category.
Okay, so it's a different category with the girls,
Yeah,
right? But Brother Bolo said that. Actually, I just have a son, but yeah,
Yeah,
uh,
it's a different thought process with boys and girls.
yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
a
I
different.
agree. Certain, when certain behaviors are taught, and when you have a well-rounded father, he, how can I say this? Men, we see things in general, women see things specific, right? And the reason why I say that is, as a father, as a husband, we're supposed to see things 10 steps ahead before it comes close to the home. That's our job. We don't want to deal with it when it's right on our footstep, right at our doorsteps. So, we wear so many different hats: father, protector, guide, nurturer, therapist, all these different hats that we have to wear. And a lot of the times the women are just seeing things specific, right? They're seeing the now. And typically a lot of the times, not all, but most, they don't see the ripple effects that it has in the future. So, to what Brother Clarence was saying, absolutely. Sometimes you have to, be able to explain it. And you learn that as a young man too, that when you become sort of a mentor, you know, you have to be able to you have to learn to listen so that you know how to tailor make your message for that person that you're listening to. It may be the same thing I'm going to tell you three gentlemen, right? But I know that you guys are different. So I have to tailor make the answer so that Vaughn, Uncle Stu, and Bro Clarence can get it. I have to meet you where you are, basically.
Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, so moving on to the last topic, and I'm pretty sure Brother Clarence and Bolo could probably answer these questions along with Uncle Stu. But when we talk about having multiple children, because I just have the one, you know, how do you deal with the different personalities? Because when it comes to raising those children, you have to deal with each individual separately because they have different personalities. And what is that experience like? So I'm going to have to step away for 2 seconds, but I want Brother Bolo to start, then Brother Clarence, and then Uncle Stu.
Hello, 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 hello.
Did we lose Bolo?
Man, lost Bolo.
Yeah, what was your question again? What was your question?
Okay, so we're talking about multiple children.
Right.
You know, hey, come on, that's a challenge at times because I only have one, and I just dealt with his personality. But when it comes to raising children, and you have four different personalities, you have to learn how to discipline each one. This one does, this particular tactic doesn't work for this one, and you have to deal with another one a different way. How do you navigate through that? So I believe I wanted Brother Bolo to start first, and then
Okay.
Brother Clarence, and then Uncle Stu,
Okay.
and then I'll
Um,
return to the stream shortly.
I would say that with me personally, I think I love my children equally, but I treat them differently, if that makes sense. You know, I love them all. I give my life for all of my children, but you treat them differently because there's different personalities. You don't treat them the same, right? So, if I get one of my daughter's roses, because that's what she likes, the other likes lilies. So, you learn the different personalities of the girls and you learn the different personalities of the boys. That's one of the hats as a father you have to wear. You have to know how to deal and how to talk to each. And it's sometimes a very hard thing to do because you may want them to tap into you when you should be tapping into them in that process, right? Meaning, as we're taught that the whole home is to revolve around us, and that is true to a certain extent. However, being a father, you're more of a servant to your family than you are the king. As you know, these are the talking points that we hear around YouTube. I'm the king, I'm the czar, I'm the president. So that means everything revolves around me. And this is so false, so far from the truth. You become more of a servant. So, being that you're more of a servant in the aspect where you serve your children, you serve your wife, you're there to make sure that they're good before you. Every good king has always served his people before he served himself. This is why they love him. This is why the people loved him. So, that being said, these children, they're new to the earth. They're young. So you have to understand, you have to try and get to know their personalities. So you know how to rightly reach them in what message you're trying to give them, opposed to knowing that, one is more musically inclined and the other is more into reading. So, you know, I would put my examples in more of a music format for this child to understand, and this one into a more of a book format, opposed to saying, okay, y'all guys are just going to learn the way I want you to learn. That's not how God does it, right? God meets you where you are. To the weak, he became weak. To the strong, he became strong. So we ought to do this also. So I love my children equally, but I deal with them differently.
Wow, that makes a lot of good sense. That makes a lot of good sense. But my thing is, I'm trying to just fathom what is that like, because I don't even know if I would be up to the challenge to do that.
Well, it's there's
Because I'm so used to the one, but I guess that's where that fatherly instinct kicks
well
in.
there's jealousy involved. There's jealousy involved. Um, with the different siblings. And sometimes if you have that open communication where you can explain it to them and say, this is why I treat her this way and I treat you this way, and this is why I treat you this way and her. I'm not going to have a problem with Michelle taking out the garbage. I have you taking out the garbage most of the time because I know that's something you don't like to do. The other one has no problem with that. Her problem is washing dishes. You don't have a problem washing dishes. So I'm going to attack the situation differently. Our job is to navigate through it and give them the best balance that we can, remembering and keeping in mind that they're not going to get it most times. They're not going to understand it most times. Your job is to keep the balance. And when they're able to get it, it'll click.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Listen, brother Nancy. Listen, I learned something. Just from your comment. You know, Because like I said, I just man, I'm like, how do these people operate when they have 4 or 5 kids? I can't. My mind won't go there because I was able to get to a place to master the one. You know what I'm saying? So listen, my heart goes out, and man, I admire you all that have been able to do that. Not to say that I wouldn't have been able to do that, you know. It's just I wasn't in that position. But you really explained it quite well, brother Bolo. I believe who was next.
I guess I can go next if let's do wants to go next.
All right, well, yeah, brother, because I know you have 4 sons, right?
Three,
3 sons.
three.
My 3 sons. You remember that
Yeah,
program for all of us old heads?
nothing but hard heads. Nothing but hard heads. Um, well, in my situation, I, first of all, when I had one child, I said, man, I don't know if I can love anything more than I love this child. I don't know. Then the second one came, and a space opened up for him. Then the third one came, space opened up for him. Then moving all the way now, I didn't think I could love anybody like I love these people, man. And then my granddaughter came, and a space opened up for her. So we got the capacity to love, brother. Love. It's like Jesus getting those fish out of that bag, man, out of that bread out of the bag. You never gonna run out. You never gonna run. You always gonna have space to love, your children or any body that comes in your life that love is supposed to be there. You always gonna have room in your heart to open up to them. All right. So in my situation, what I tried to do is I always talk to y'all about the equilibrium. In every house there's a static level of vibration, and that's how in my well let me talk about me. In my house, I noticed that there was a static level when everything was good. When nobody had no issue, the energy was at this level. And that energy was thrown. That level was thrown off by any one person having an issue, right? So any one person walking in the house having an issue, it would throw the thing off. It was my wife, it was one of my sons, it was myself. It would throw that off. So we would know, okay, this person has an issue. What can we do to figure out what was going on? Now, pertaining to my sons, what I try to do is be um, a straight line for them, where they could see what it would look like that a person that is going to try to fix any problem, no matter what, no matter what. And so when they kind of saw that, they know, okay, that this is what he expects. They expect that they don't expect a haywire and everybody jumping all over the place. I mean, they did that every once in a while, but typically they just said, okay, we know the parameters of what we can do and what we can't do, and we stay as long as we stay in these parameters, things will be cool. If we stay out, we get outside of these parameters, then stuff starts going to start getting taken away. No Xbox, no TV, no internet, whatever it was at the time, right? Mine have grown now, but at the time was no this or that or whatever, right? So I think dealing with multiple children. Now, I will say this. Sometimes you got to be like Darth Vader, right? And like, what was the whole point of the Star Wars movie, the first one? The whole point was to find that rebel base and destroy it, right? Sometimes you don't have a rebel in the bunch. You have a rebel, and you have to you have to constantly deal with the rebel, so you don't have an anarchy. Because can get if the rebel can get other followers, your other children, to follow and cause chaos, then now you got chaos in your house, right? So sometimes you might have to deal with that rebel a little harsher. Not saying
Wow.
physically, but
Wow.
you might have to deal with him a little harsher than
A
the
little
other
more
one.
discipline. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow.
that
I never
person,
thought of it that way. But
yeah, brother. I mean,
wow.
there's so many different
Interesting.
things to it. So sometimes you might have to deal with him a little harsher, right? and so that the other two will say, well, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be in that situation. And it worked out for me. Not that I singled him out, but I definitely, whenever I saw rebellion in his behavior, just straight out rebellion, and not incompetence, where I forgot or I didn't. No, I'm talking about straight out rebellion. I'm not gonna do it. Well, then I had to make an example out of him by disciplining him some type of way, and maybe even doing it put a little extra on it, so the other two would say, that's not where I want to be, man. So it's a lot of different intricacies in it, as far as how to deal with multiple children, and then of course the wife is involved, and she's always trying to protect these children, especially the boy children. She's always trying to protect them. So it's a lot goes to it, but you just stick with it. Just stick with it, everybody.
Okay, wow, man, excellent. Well, gentlemen, listen, I know that there are people that may be in the chat. I know the link is pinned somehow. If anyone wants to come up and ask us a question, we can probably take one or two questions. If there's anybody in the chat that's interested in being a part of the platform tonight. And if not, then we will go ahead and do some closing remarks. And
Stu didn't answer the question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Stu did not answer the question.
Oh, thank you, sir.
No,
thank you.
You and Bodo cleared it up perfect. So
I told you I was riding on your shoulders. No, I don't want to leave Uncle Stu out now.
No.
Come on.
No, they answered it perfectly.
Oh, okay. See, so Uncle Stu agrees. He agrees. So anyway, I just want to give a couple of moments for if anybody does want to come up and ask maybe one or two questions. But brothers, let me tell you, I can't express my appreciation for all three of you showing up tonight. I do believe that the conversation that we had was very beneficial. This is definitely a stream that can be looked at, 2 or 3 times. And man, I'm just so honored to have you all up here with me because like I said, I have a great admiration and respect for everyone that's on the panel. So with that being said, it doesn't look like anybody wants to come up, so that's fine. We can do some closing remarks.
I have a question for you, Vaughn. I have a question for you.
Oh, okay. Go right ahead.
Question for you. What was the greatest thing that you realized after raising a child? What is the greatest lesson that you learned as a dad, as far as being a father? What was a lesson that's something that you didn't know you didn't know when it started out? Something that you have learned. What is one of the biggest takeaways you have gotten from being a father?
The biggest takeaway is that I could do it.
Right.
Because there were a few more topics that I wanted to tap on, but I know the time is getting long. But just the fact that I was able to do it up until this point, because there were some insecurities there. I've never been a father before, and based upon those fatherly instincts that kicked in, those helped me a bit. But at the same time, I'm still unsure, especially even now I'm learning, I have a teenager and how teenagers think they know everything.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And so that those particular years in your child's life are very challenging, because now they want to buck up against you a little bit more than they would when they were younger,
Yeah.
So listen, I'm still learning, ladies and gentlemen. I think fatherhood is a constant learning that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I would answer that question, brother. Thank you for that. So now at this point, maybe we can do a little closing remarks. I see a timer up there, so I don't know if we're gonna get cut off. So maybe everybody has 1 or 2 minutes. But anyway, Brother Clarence, what would be your closing remarks? Briefly.
Briefly, closing remarks is everybody out there is in being a father. You can do it, and I know it's going to get challenging. Not a question of if it's going to get challenging. It will be challenging at some point. But the good news is that
All right, brother.
you got guys like us that if you don't have anybody in your immediate circle, you got guys like us that's always talking about stuff like this, and we can offer some suggestions. It may not be a perfect fit for your situation, but at least you could take something from what we said and use it, man.
Yes,
It was a
sir. Yes,
pleasure
sir.
talking to all of you, you gentlemen. Man, I'm so honored, man. And Stu, I meant
Wow.
what I said, brother. I meant what I said. Hope you take that, man, and and take it into your heart and know that Brother Clarence is sincere about that. Brother Bolo, I don't know, man. My people are gonna get in touch with your people, man. We're gonna work something out, man. We'll work it out. We'll see what we're gonna do, man. You know what I mean? But and the brother that just came on, brother Stan, good to see you, brother. I never really talked to you, but good to
Yes,
see. I see
sir.
you around, but good to see you. And Vaughn, you know what it is, man.
Man,
And
much love, my brother. Much
everybody else.
love. Much love. All right, brother Clarence, thank you so much. We're gonna pull brother Clarence down, uh, and brother Stan. Listen, we're glad that you could show up, brother. Maybe brother Clarence wants to stick around for a minute to just hear what your comments are.
Oh yeah, I was the guy in was talking about the father not loving his own kids but loving the step kids and girlfriend's kids. That was me.
Okay.
Aha. All
Did you
right, all
understand
right.
my answer?
I'll say again.
Did you understand my reply?
I did and kind of no. To be honest with
Yeah,
you.
that's fine.
No, because like it's no, because I always wonder, and I sent Bolo the question, like, do fathers actually think about this when they date? They dating women with kids and not think about their own children. Because like for me, like my kid is going to be going to junior high, and I'm making sure like I don't want to date in a serious relationship because I don't want her to lose this crucial point in her life. Because that's happened to me. My father went off when I was, about to go into high school, and it was like I remember like I needed him to show me around what it meant to be a man. Because I'm going on 13, and everybody else had their own fathers, and I was just like left to the side. So with her, I'm making sure like she gets all my time because I
Mm,
don't want to be like my own father.
wow.
Okay. Number one, my biggest thing that I always would say to you, and this would be direct to you or anyone, stop trying to interpret adult situations and adult habits in a childlike mind. You don't know what that situation was. You're trying to interpret something that can't be interpreted. So unless you spoke to him directly and know what really happened, you really don't have a clue as to why he did what he did. So that's going to be my first answer to you. You're trying to interpret something that cannot be interpreted. Second, if you want an example of a man that we don't know why he left the woman that he left and what made him walk away, but he turned around and had two stepdaughters that became tennis champions. As I said before, people may not like the answer, but every man ain't gonna stick around in pure hell. They just not. And there's no amount of motivational speeches, talks, books, Bible, Quran, any of that, that's gonna make a man stick around in pure hell, especially
Mm,
when he got to already live his life and is not to date. He just live his life just to put food on his own table. You
wow.
understand? So
Wow. Wow.
a man just ain't gonna go through that. And when I was younger, brother Clarence was younger, Bolo, we ain't had no internet. We ain't know nothing about no red pill and all this other crazy stuff. We had to
Yeah.
handle that thing. So what
Tell the
what
truth. Tell the truth.
what men is not. And if I have to give any credit, if I gotta find the good in the midst of a lot of weeds, I will give some of the men the credit that this is the generation that's saying, nah, we ain't doing it. We ain't having it. I think they're starting to share those stories where they're realizing, hey, my dad wasn't a bad man. my dad couldn't deal with my mom because we always believe protect mama at all costs and mama never wrong, mama right, mama said this, it was the law. Mama laid down the law and that's what we took. And as you begin to go through life and go through situations, you begin to see, well, maybe mama wasn't perfect, and that's a hard concept. Now, just because mama wasn't perfect don't mean that you don't love her. You love her through the imperfections. So if you're in a position where you got your biological daughter and you're taking care of her, then I'm always going to tell you focus on your biological child before going out on dates. But then I also have to look at the other reality. If that opens up, then you handle it as that time permits. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't always say to you, well, hold off life for another 15 years and this and that. I think it's a one-on-one situation. Definitely speak to older people. I know the manosphere can't stand us old people, but here's the reality. Speak to someone that got the real
No, I'm
experience.
from the South. I always the older
Okay.
you are,
Say that, Uncle Stu. They don't like us old folks, huh?
Yeah.
No, that's not true. That's not
Okay.
true. I'm from the
Okay,
South.
What
all
part
right
of the
now.
South? What part of
I'm
the
from the
South?
South. I didn't follow
What
people
part?
my own age. I was like, oh
What
no,
part of the South?
I'm not going to jail.
All right. I got roots in South Carolina, so got roots in
Opalaka,
South Carolina.
Florida.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right. But I think that's a situation where you just have to navigate it. You just have to navigate it. You can't see yourself as doing the sins of the father. Bolo said something earlier, which is I see it so much online. More men is talking out of their pain and out of hurt and out of brokenness than they're talking out of a real life transitional experience. So when you're sitting there speaking out of that, then you get a lot of mixed messages.
Yeah, Uncle Stu, a lot of times, I will say this, a lot of times when I'm maneuvering that I don't become like my father, and then somebody will point out areas why I'm like my father, and I hate myself even more.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to use this as a teachable moment. If you don't mind, what is it about your dad you don't like?
I didn't like that he always put women first. He was a womanizer a lot.
Okay. What is your definition of a womanizer?
Who? I give you an example, like womanizers sleeping with the teachers. Everybody know my father in a biblical sense, all the women in my school.
Okay.
The neighborhood, that wasn't good. Girlfriends knowing who I was, but I didn't know who they were.
Okay.
Poor boundaries.
Do you associate your father with having a childlike pain or a childlike emptiness that says, I really don't know what love is?
Childlike pain. He doesn't know what love is. And I got that from my mother because she was always pushing me to more understanding. Because
I want you to take that.
Yeah.
And why do I say take that? Because if you understand that, then it should give you the piece of who your dad is. How can you blame your dad for something he did not know? What was the first thing I said? I said, when I and Brother Clarence and Bolo and Vaughn, we ain't had no internet. We ain't had no books. Men didn't get together. We didn't talk about, matter of fact, for a lot of us, some of this stuff wasn't even around. Okay. But when everybody was going through whatever they had to go through, we couldn't go online and say, well, let me get with a group of men. This thing in age is new as far as black manosphere. The white manosphere came around in the 2000s. You understand? So this is not something brand new. You understand? This is new. So what I'm saying to you is that your father could not have known how to handle something in a healthy way. So if the only way he can handle it is in the arms of a woman that for the moment gave him love and he associated sex with love, he had to handle it. He did what he had to do. Um, I think one of the greatest comedians. Matter of fact, a lot of comedians try to pattern themselves after him, and that was Richard Pryor. And
Okay, Richard Pryor. I gotta say something real quick. There's a movie of his that used to send me into rage as a kid. It has sent me to the principal office to therapy. It was the movie Toy.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember that. I remember
Well,
Toy.
Yeah, because he
Or the
was
toy or toy, something like that.
yeah, he was this kid's toy. So it was like the symbol of like here's a black father being, this person that was teaching this kid stuff. And it was like I grew up with Richard Pryor movies, and then to see him do that and I associate that with my father, that used to put me in therapy a lot. I was
Oh
screaming at
wow.
black
Wow.
out, and that was something where, I was just angry a lot. Just
What? Well,
that's a
was he
movie I couldn't watch. I
in
couldn't
that movie?
watch.
Was he a black father? I don't think he was a father in that movie. In
that's
that
right. He
Yeah, he
wasn't a
was
father.
to that boy. I was
he
forced to
I
was.
don't
He
watch
think
was.
he
it.
was the father to the
No,
boy.
he
I think
wasn't.
they
He wasn't a father. He was a fatherly figure.
Right.
yeah.
It's a
This
That
is
he,
different.
someone that the father
He
hired or
had
something
Right.
like that. I remember that
issues.
movie.
He had issues, and he needed money. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That goes to. I mean, it's the perspective. How you feel affects how you see.
yeah,
Let me say it again. How you feel affects how you see. So you can, as men, we're taught to look at things linear. We're not taught to look at things from different perspectives, and that's what kind of pigeonholes us into calling each other simps, calling each other weak, right? So to add to what Uncle Stu said, I have a friend that ended up in a wheelchair, and the advice that I used to give him, he knew it was coming from a place of love, but it felt like it was offending him. So it's not until I put myself in that wheelchair for about 3 hours and I understood where I was coming from and was wrong. So when we give advice typically from our perspective opposed to the person that we're giving the advice to, their perspective. And this is why they always say to you, you just don't understand, because we typically don't. We typically don't walk in their footsteps. You can look at it as Richard Pryor being a simple. You could look at Richard Pryor doing what he needed to do to get to where he needed to be. So it's different perspectives on how you're brought up to look at it. We have to stop looking at things linear, man. We have to stop because we don't know what Uncle Stu's been through. We don't know what Bro Clarence, we don't know what you've been through. So again, when we're talking about our fathers, you have to understand that, especially as black men, unfortunately, you know, um, we haven't been given the tools and the coping mechanisms to deal with things, right? So you said that you used to watch this movie and it used to send you into therapy. So you have to understand that even though you're an older man, there's certain things that trigger that young kid that was in that trauma at that time, and that trauma takes over everything that you are at that point, and it just you go left. You know, understanding the perspective of your father, right? It's being able to forgive yourself to move on. Again, we can't change the past. The past is done, right? We learn from it. That's what we do. We do our best to learn from it, but to understand why. Don't come from a judgmental perspective, meaning, I'm gonna have my judgmental gun ready for you, but I want to give you a fair shake to give me why you moved this way. Why did you do this? And typically it's a trauma, right? Usually people that become predators, they were preyed on themselves. So we have to understand the trajectory and how it changes and shifts when, as a child, this person is not allowed to develop as a child. And this happens in our community way too often with our man child, where they're not given enough time to mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically develop. They're just not. And when you inject stress into the development of a child, it changes everything. Stress changes the molecular structure of cells growth. So imagine that happening with the child. Children from the age of 3 to 5, there's, you know, milestones that they need to reach. 5 to 8, 8 to 12. When you interject into those milestones, you change the growth pattern of this child. You can't put that child back into being 8 to grow. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. This is why when a child gets molested, typically, that changes the trajectory. They may like to start to like men. They may like to start to like women. They may be promiscuous at an early age because of how they were introduced. And a lot of the times, as parents, we are so afraid to say, I have a problem with my child, let me take them to therapy. We allow these children to function in their therapy, and a lot of them don't even know that they're functioning into their therapy until they meet an Uncle Stu, or they meet a Brother Clarence, or a Bolo, or a Vaughn, and then they sit there and they go, wow, I didn't know. But they have havoc behind them. They didn't know. So we have to be empathetic and sympathetic. We have to be patient. A lot of these men go through mental illness, depression. And we have to understand that being upset and being pissed off and being depressed, they share certain attributes. They do, but they're far from, if I'm upset, I know who I'm upset with. I'm upset with Brother Clarence. He doesn't want to shine my belt early in the morning. But if I'm dealing with depression, when I'm dealing with depression, I don't have anyone to be upset at. I've lost that a long time ago. I'm just caught up in it. So we have to understand the difference. You have to be very patient with a person, especially a man. Understand what he has to deal with. He has to deal with the depression. He has to deal with probably not having a father in his life. He has to deal with also coming to grips that he's broken, which affects his psyche, which affects his self-esteem. These are things that we have to understand. We have so much put on our shoulders as young men, 9, 10, 8, 7. I've seen women say, you're the man of the house, and the kid is 7. Kid is 7. What is he going to do with that? You just changed him from thinking of a 7-year-old to now he has to go out into these streets and make it happen. And now when a man comes into this woman's life and say, okay, man, you need to stop that. How do you change him from being a man from the age of 7? He's now 15. It's not easy. It's not easy. So I just wanted to add that caveat.
So do you understand why I say you can't see it from your lens? You got to see it from his.
Yeah.
And when I brought up Richard Pryor, it's kind of ironic that you said what you said, but Richard Pryor grew up in a whorehouse. I mean, he's always told his real story. His grandmother was the madam of the house. Can you imagine where his psyche was when it came to women and relationships and his concept of family? You understand? It was wilted as a child. Yeah, he became a comedic genius, but look what he had to go through to get to where he had to go to. So you can almost understand why he medicated himself all the time. Because most of us ain't never had to live that kind of life. So, you saying, well, I don't want to be like my father. That's why I said I wanted to take a little bit of a deep dive. Did you talk to your father? Do you understand? Because we also can't raise our children up in the very fears that we have. Job says the very thing I feared came upon me. Sometimes we can bring that very fear into our reality. You understand? So it's a forever process. I would tell you to go back to therapy. I would tell you to ask yourself some deep dive questions. What is it about this trauma, or what is it really about this movie that affects me? Because a lot of times we are triggered by the very things or the very people that ain't really there. So, for example, if you said a word and I said, oh man, that made me feel some kind of way. Now I'm thinking about, say, a past relationship, but that relationship ain't here. So there's something inside of me, and there's something that's going on that's making me trigger, or that's making me remember an event or a situation. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times that is going to take therapy. That is going to take some deep dive things. And then you got to be willing to do the work. And some people are not willing to do the work. But yeah, I mean, I have a place where you can go get some therapy. You can talk to Bolo. I mean, you can, my email's in the about section, but it's going to take work. We can give you all the answers, but unless you do the work to come up with your own answers.
Yeah, I'm definitely down to do the work, because that's how I found out my own previous
Awesome.
was certain movies I just couldn't watch, and I had to sit down, allow myself to cry, get angry, because there was certain stuff that I was already the man at age 5. I had to do everything. I had younger siblings and I had to babysit. I couldn't go to school certain days because I have a brother who's autistic. I help my mom out and take him to a doctor's appointment. I had to do a lot of things.
Now stop right there. Did you hear what Bolo said earlier?
Yeah. Being the man
in Wells about being made to be the man of the house at 7, at 8, at 9, at 10, right?
Yeah, 5.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask you this question, but I don't want you to answer the question.
I won't answer. Okay.
Okay. Do you have displaced anger? And just leave it there. You might be orally telling me you're mad at your dad. But could it really be that you're mad somewhere else and you're covering up being angry? Remember I said earlier, we're raised that our mother is always right. We're raised that our mother tells us nothing wrong. We're raised that our mothers are the all loving, all nurturing, all this. They literally become our God. Then we go through, as they would say in this section, the red pill moment where we come into a reality. Christianity calls it being reborn. You see? So when you all of a sudden come into the reality of, well, dang, everything I thought was true was not true. People I thought was my enemy became my friend, and people who were my friend became my enemy. That's a painful moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's not going to be, at 8 o'clock, I got this reality. 9 o'clock, I'm okay. It might, you just got surgery. So like I said, you don't have to necessarily answer the question, but in yourself, just sit back and say, do I really have anger for my father, or do I have displaced aggression? And a lot of times we do. I could be, say, angry at Bolo because he sneezed. Well, I'm not really angry at Bolo. I'm really angry at the nurse that sneezed on me 3 days ago, but I'm taking it out on Bolo.
It's a trigger. It's a trigger.
It's a
trigger.
It's a trick. It's like these cliches that we have, right? The straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
A camel can carry 900 pounds, 40 miles a day. A straw typically weighs nothing. Do you know what kind of pressure or stress that camel had to be going through for a straw to break its back? Think about that. So it's typically not the straw, it's everything else around him. It's just that straw just pushed him over, like Uncle Suda said. So a lot of the times, the people that war with you are typically not your enemy, but everyone that help you are not always your friend. So, these are the things, and this is why it's so hard being a man. You have to learn to juggle all these things, because if something goes wrong, we don't go to the woman. Guess who we come to? You. We come to you. So you have to be truthful with yourself. That's where it starts. It starts with you. And once it starts with you, it branches out. Now you can see your mom for what she is, your dad for what he is, your brother for what he is. Doesn't mean that you love him less. It just means you know where to place him. That's all.
Thank you,
Wow.
guys.
Wow.
Brother Clarence,
That
you got anything you want to add?
you're muted, brother.
What you say, bro?
Oh, you have something you want to add, Brother Clarence?
I mean, man, they gave you a lot of wisdom, Stan, and I don't want to
Yeah,
put
those were jewels. Those were
I don't want
definitely
to put too much
jewels.
on there to because
Yeah.
what they really gave you, man, was they gave you some real wisdom, man. And so the only thing I would put in there is really dig into what they said, man. Watch the stream a couple of times and kind of dig into what they said, man, because they really gave some good advice, brother. Outside of actually, if you feel you need it, getting the professional help, but just looking into what they said, brother, you seem to me like a solid dude that you want to be past whatever it is that's kind of get that kind of being a stumbling block for you. I can't say it no better than what these two brothers said, man. I can say it no better, man. So just the only thing I'm gonna say is last thing I'm gonna throw in there is man, just give us an update on how things are going, man. If you say you ready
Yes,
to put it
sir.
to work, you say you ready to do it. Okay, check back in with us, man. I'm sure we old heads gonna get together again, man. Just come back, come back and let us know what's
Look, don't call yourselves old heads. You guys are grown. You guys are grown men.
Well, we say that because that's what you all call us. So
No,
we, we,
no,
we,
no, no,
we
no.
listen.
Listen.
We're making light of it.
Look, I am tired. I've been 21 for 20 years. I promise, bro.
That's all right now. That's all right.
I've been waiting to wear Stacey Adams for 20 years. I want
Yes,
to
sir. Yes, sir.
when you get
wear my sweater vest. I want to look like
Stan, when you get let me tell you, man, when you get to 50, you ain't gonna care, man. You ain't care no more. I don't care that I'm 50. I don't care no more. Okay, I ain't 21. Okay, I don't care. Just leave me alone.
Wow.
yeah, you guys are grown. Don't just say that you're old heads. You're grown. You are grown men. And
Listen, I wear the title
I
with
sure appreciate
pride.
that. Thank
I wear that title with pride because you know what? Let me tell you, and I tell the young people all the time: keep living, keep living.
Hey Stan, I got a question.
yes, sir.
Can I call Bolo old? Because Bolo just had a birthday. Can I call Bolo old?
Nah, grown.
Happy
All of you
birthday.
guys are grown.
I got
Why
Nobody's
you
old.
always gotta start, brother? I'm over here quiet. I'm not bothering nobody. I'm calling you in the morning.
And look, I didn't get the last remarks from Bolo or brother Uncle Stu.
Oh no, like trust me, guys. I'm pushing for 2023. I want the grown and sexy back. It's been gone for 30 years. I didn't live this long to not experience it. I was promised this cruise. I was promised these trips to Vermont. And what's the other stuff you guys were doing back in the day? You guys were going up to Jamaica. I mean, like, I'm tired of going nightclubs. I want to go to
live
these
life,
houses
man. Live
in the
life.
mansions. Like I saw in that movie, Wait to Excel. I'm like, black people used to do this. I'm missing out. I want grown and sexy back.
Well, that means go get your passport and go travel the world.
Oh yeah, that's next on my list.
Yeah.
But Uncle Stu, I'm definitely Bolo already sent an email to you. Uncle Stu, I'm down for it. Like I'm gonna check out your email you too. And I just want to let people know this. Like I pay for coaching and therapy and like understand like what you get from a therapist, because your therapist is one thing, they handle emotions. But if they're not a black male, that's something completely different. Like you need to talk to somebody that you can identify with. And I still go to my therapist, but it's an extra bonus I don't mind paying for to talk to somebody that looks like me. So pay
Well,
for the
I'm
coaching.
gonna tell you right now, on my platform, I do have an on-call therapist for y'all.
Okay, cool. All right,
And he
because
is
like
black.
it's important.
He is black. He is a male, and he's also on YouTube.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
You're
Because a
welcome.
regular therapist, they want to see the
Awesome,
anger
awesome.
management. And I already did anger management before. I'm like, look, I don't want anger management. I'm a black man. I want to talk to another black person I can talk to, a black man I can talk to about stuff that I can't talk to my therapist, which is normally always women of another color. So it's not like I can have these conversations too much with her about what I'm feeling inside dealing with my own father. It's a limited scope. So I just want to share that with a lot of people out there. Like, don't give up on your therapy sessions or don't seek help just waiting for somebody, but do the work that you need to do. And like opportunities come up like tonight where I can go ahead and find somewhere else, and that's an added addition of
Right.
getting well and getting better.
Right.
Right on, man. Right on. Good luck to you, Stan, man.
Oh, thank you,
Good.
Vaughn. Good work, Vaughn.
Yes, sir. Wow. Listen, I would be remiss again if I didn't acknowledge your presence on the platform, brother Stan. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
I want you to be encouraged, brother, because you know what? When we seek and thirst, after righteousness, those people are going to be filled. You,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? When you have the frame of mind to search a knowledge and truth, and that's the main word I want to use is truth. you know when you can recognize the truth when you hear it, and it encourages you to move forward. See, you have that in your spirit. And so, man, I appreciate you. You just made me so excited tonight because I feel like the stream was definitely did what it was supposed to do, brother, because
okay.
you came up and you shared, your experiences and what you gained from the stream. And so for that, brother, God bless you, man.
Oh,
And
thank you.
there's
And
good
don't
things to
give up
come.
on us, guys. Don't
Yeah,
give
yeah.
up on us because we
Listen,
do listen. We
yeah.
do listen. We
Oh
do
no,
need
I
you.
would never give up on you, brother.
All
No,
right, guys. So we
that's
need you
that's
guys.
not me.
So
See, listen, my love and care and concern is unconditional. So I'm gonna always pray, and I'm gonna always
thank you.
try to give the advice and the best information that I can in order for your upliftment. You see what I'm saying?
Thank you.
So definitely. And hey, come on, reach out to Uncle Stu. He already told you that he has some things going on, and you
Yeah,
have Bolo TV. See
yeah,
what I'm saying? So
that's
you're in
good,
the
man.
right place, brother. You're in the right place.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right, thank you guys. And I want to invite everybody else to call in. Reach out. Like, don't be scared. Call in. All right, Jim, and happy holidays.
All right.
All
You
right,
too.
man. God bless. God bless. All right.
Blessings,
So
brother.
listen, gentlemen, I need to finish the closing remarks. And if we can't, that's understandable. I can do it for the rest of you all. But I didn't get a closing remark from Uncle Stu and Brother Bolo. Listen, gentlemen, this the proof is in the pudding. You see what I'm saying? We started out with a conversation, and you see how it affected an individual where they actually came up and got some good information. Man, I'm looking forward to doing this more often because, and I see why brother Uncle Stu and Bolo TV and Brother Clarence put so much time and effort into creating the content. Now, let me tell you, this is the first time I actually felt like a content creator tonight. Wow. I was able to sit back and let everybody else talk. Wow. I didn't know I would actually be in that seat. But man, what a pleasure it was, man. And I'm so glad, that we have a result as to how effective we were tonight. So if Uncle Stu could give a closing remark, and Brother Bolo and Brother Clarence stick around, I just we'll close it out all together. I don't want to bring anybody down. So I'm trying to do different, but but do you have any closing remarks, Uncle Stu? Just concerning the stream, or everything.
My closing remark is simple. May the peace and the blessing of the Lord be upon each and every single one of you. And may you continue to be blessed, and grace coming in and grace going out. And if there's anything that we have said that has helped you, moved you, or motivate you, I give all the glory and the honor and the praise to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And that's all I got to say.
Wow. Awesome. Again, brother, Uncle Stu, listen, thank you so much, sir, for your time and your effort. It doesn't go unnoticed. Like I said, I'm very honored for someone of your caliber to give time to me, you know, um, to be a part of what I'm trying to do. And thank you so much. God bless you. And tell Brown Eyes I said hello.
I sure will. I'll stay up here until everybody leaves.
Yes, sir. Brother Bolo.
Yes, sir. Um, what I'll say is, guys, it's not easy being a father. It's not easy. So the best thing that I'll say is, to add to what Uncle Stu said, because everything he said was 100%. Take time to get to know what your worth is in Christ. Take the time to get to understand your direction, your intention. Know what your worth is, so in your standards you can demand your value and take nothing short of it. Understand your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you are a man of God, please seek out a woman of God, right? Don't take more time to put quality on you opposed to in you. Take the time. What's most important is getting to understand who you're going to be spending the rest of your life with and who is going to be potentially the mother of your children. Typically, we spend more time in finding a home than we do in finding a woman. Take your time, be patient, don't rush, and always accept Christ your Lord and Savior and know that He does all. And in Him, we are everything. Outside of Him, we are nothing.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, listen, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think our work here is definitely done for now, but it shall continue. It will continue. Um, these conversations are something that we have to continue to do. Um, and I look forward to the next opportunity. Tonight was a great show. We touched on a lot of things. Those of you who are just tuning in very late, we tapped in on a lot of aspects of fatherhood. We talked about the parental experience, the early years, slash the newborn, and the bond, the commitment, the challenges, the insecurities. We also talked about the fatherly instincts, as they kick in, the sacrifices and discipline tactics. And it was just a plethora of information that we were able to throw down tonight. And I just appreciate this crew tonight because, what we accomplished was a great thing. This is something that individuals can go back and look at and, benefit from. And so, with that being said, I see, brother 84. Listen, I would also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge, the intellectual soapbox. Mr. Best in the World, 84.
What's going
You
on? What's
know,
going on? I only came up to say one thing. Um, well, two things. One, I can't wait to see Bro Clarence and Bolo battle. That's gonna be great. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
another
You know what I mean?
instigator.
I'm taking bets. All right. So whoever y'all got, let me know. All right. I'm taking bets. All right. No, I'm joking. But no, Uncle Stu, check the private chat if you can. Stan Joseph asked of something from you. So if you could share that in the private chat, that'll be great. But yeah, I just want to thank all of y'all for coming up here. Appreciate all you brothers. You know what I'm saying? And I got love for all y'all, man. Much love to all y'all. Bolo, Uncle Stu, Bro Clarence, Mr. Bryant, you already know. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, salute to all y'all. Definitely.
Wow. Yeah. So that does it, man. Thanks again, everyone. And until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Von Bryan experience, as they call it, on the intellectual soapbox. If you haven't subscribed to Brother Clarence, Let's Talk the Better Black Life, get over there. Uncle Stu, the old man on the block, man, look it up. It's on YouTube. And Brother Bolo, my God, come on. He's all over the place.
Wait a minute, Bolo has
So,
a channel? Bolo
yeah,
has a channel?
Bolo,
He does? I gotta get over
Bolo
there, man.
definitely has a
I
channel.
gotta get over there. I gotta get
Yeah,
over
You
there.
gonna start one of
and
you
it's
there,
on the
brother.
move. Bolo has a whole village over there. He has a whole village.
He has a whole village?
Yes,
Oh man, I
sir.
gotta get
Yes,
over
sir.
there. I gotta get over there.
Well,
I'll check
thanks
him out.
again, guys. And until the next time, peace, blessings, and longevity. Longevity.
Great show, Vaughn. Great show.
Thank you.
Great show.
Great show,
And
Mark. Thank you for having us, man.
yep. And I
Sir.
put my email in the private chat.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
Well, I put it in the actual chat.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it.
DJ.